after reading this. You know the respiration, there are two types of respiration in our body. One is external, that by which we can inhale air goes to the lungs, aste. And from the lungs, the oxygen is absorbed in the blood and carbon dioxide comes out from the blood to the lungs, and this carbon dioxide air will come out as an expiration. So this is known as the external expiration. And there is another respiration, you know, the cellular respiration or internal respiration, whereas the oxygen which has been absorbed in the blood goes to the cell. In the cell, oxygen taken up by and carbon dioxide release, and this is known as the cellular respiration. It is not totally a physiological part. We today discuss the external respiration. Respiration means external respiration, or otherwise loosely we call it respiration. Means there are a cycle, inspiration and expiration. Inspiration, we take air through the nose, lasting about 1 second, and expiration, the air comes out, which is lasting about 3 seconds. Inspiration is an active process. What is the meaning of active process? That's when the muscle action is needed. Muscle action is needed, so energy, expenditure of energy is required. And expiration is normal expiration is a passive process. No muscle respiration, no energy is needed for exhaled air to make the air come out from our lungs. No energy is needed, no muscle is needed. How it is happen? Due to the elastic recoil of the lungs. What is that? When inspiration, the lungs expands. The lung expands. And lungs contain some elastic fibers. In its connective tissue fibers, septum and pleura, there are elastic fibers which expands. And as a rubber, you know, if we stretch the rubber, you can stretch the rubber, but if you loosen it, the rubber will come back to its normal position. And this is known as the elastic recoil. Similarly, when the inspiration stops, the lung try to come out in its normal position, so its volume gets reduced and air comes out. So it is totally due to elastic recoil of the lungs, which usually does not require any energy. But in some situations, when we actively need more oxygen, or in some situation we try to exert more effort with a more power, then we call it is an exaggerated inspiration or respiration, which requires more energy and involvement of the more muscle. Even in expiration, which is normally a passive phenomenon, no muscle is needed, no energy is needed. But when we exaggerated expiration, the muscle is needed, energy is needed, right? So with this introduction, we going to the original chapter, that is the inspiration and expiration. Normal physics say that air will go from high pressure side to low pressure side. It is a normal physics. Air must go to the high pressure side to the low pressure side. So, and another physics law states that when the volume expands, the pressure gets low. Right? Boyle's law. When the volume expands, P inversely varies to V. P inversely varies to V. Right? So when volume expands, pressure gets low. When volume lowers, pressure gets high. So, nature uses this principle of physics. When lung will expand, volume will increase, pressure will get lower than the outside pressure, atmospheric pressure, and air goes in. And due to elastic recoil, when the lungs comes to its original position, volume gets lower, pressure increases, then the outside pressure, air will come out. Simply, nature uses this principle of physics. But to expand the lungs, muscle action is needed. So, energy is needed. So, it is an active process. So, any three-dimensional space has got diameters. Similarly, our thoracic case, it is a more or less truncated cone. It has got an anterior-posterior diameter, it has got a transverse diameter, and it has got a vertical diameter. So, if we increase any one or all the diameters, the volume will be increased, the pressure will get, and so the lungs will also increase. With the chest wall increase, the pleura will also stress, intrapleural pressure becomes negative, more negative, and lungs also, which is attached to the pleura, also expands, and the intra-alveolar pressure, that's when already you know the alveoli, is also decreases. So, pressure gets low, outside air will go in. And nature uses this principle by increasing in normal inspiration all the diameters of the thorax, not a single one. It increases all the diameters of the thorax. Anteroposterior, vertical, and transverse diameters. Slight increase, but this slight increase results into taken up of 500 cc of air, which is known as the tidal volume of air. In physiology, you have known. Now, our anatomical part is that how these diameters are increased. Anteroposterior, transverse, and vertical diameter. So, one after another. Acha, before going to that, there are certain facts about that which is required for explain why situation. In infants, the ribs are horizontally placed. In infants, ribs are upper ribs, mainly the upper ribs are horizontally placed. One after another, horizontally, parallel to each other, so that transverse diameter is equal to anteroposterior diameter. In other words, the transverse section of the thoracic cavity or thoracic cage of an infant is circular. So, in infants, the transverse diameter is totally circle. And in circle, you know, all the diameters are equal and you cannot increase any one of the diameter. আর বাড়ানো যাবে না, সার্কেলের ম্যাক্সিমাম ডায়ামিটার সবই এক, আর there is a no question of increasing the diameter. So infants, you cannot increase the thoracic diameter, any one of the thoracic diameter, because it is a circle. সার্কেলের ডায়ামিটার আর বাড়ানো যায় না। তাহলে ইনফেন্টস কি রেসপিরেশন নেবে না? Will not the inspiration take its respiration? Yes. একটা ডায়ামিটার বাড়ানো যায়, ভার্টিক্যাল ডায়ামিটার, কারণ thoracic vertical diameter is a soft pliable thing. Thoracic case transverse diameter is equal to anteroposterior diameter, but I do not mention the vertical diameter. So transverse and anteroposterior diameter means the ribs and cartilage, you cannot increase them, you cannot change them. But vertical diameter from the is what is that? From the center of the thoracic inlet to the center of the thoracic outlet. And you can thoracic inlet is a fixed because first rib is fixed. So you cannot increase the upper aperture, move, make an up and down. But you increase the lower portion, lower plane of the infants or our lower plane of the vertical diameter. That's mean the diaphragm. You can push the diaphragm down. So infants mainly up to 2 years, increasing vertical diameter, they do their respiration. So we call it, and when the diaphragm descends, it increases the abdominal, intra-abdominal pressure. So intra-abdominal, abdomen bulges out. So we call it abdominal type of respiration. So in infants, respiration is abdominal. Explain why একটা হয়ে গেল. It is an explain why the in infants the respiration is abdominal. Then you have to write this. You cannot increase the transverse and anteroposterior diameter. You can only increase the vertical diameter by movement of the diaphragm. So, and when diaphragm descends down, abdomen bulges out, the liver goes down, spleen goes down, and we call it abdominal type of respiration. So infants up to more or less up to 2 years, the type of respiration is abdominal. After 2 years, upper ribs mainly become oblique. Posterior end is higher than the lower end. ভালো করে আমি রিবস বলছি, কার্টিলেজ নয়। কি হচ্ছে, এটা যদি ভার্টিব্রা হয়, এটা মেনুব্রিয়াম স্টার্নি যদি হয়, আপার রিবস, এটা থার্ড রিবস ধরো, এটা ভার্টিব্রা, এটা স্টার্নাম। Look, it is a cartilage, costal cartilage. Look, if it is a third rib, the posterior end is lower than the anterior end, then the cartilage goes up. But I am telling about the ribs. So the ribs are oblique. The ribs are oblique. And oblique ribs. So in adults, transverse diameter, ribs are oblique. And it has been found the transverse diameter of an adult is greater than anteroposterior diameter. So, shape of the transverse section is kidney shaped. C kidney no, এটা extra হয়ে গেছে. Kidney shaped, and respiration uses all the diameters of the thorax, so that we increase the anteroposterior diameter, we increase the transverse diameter, we increase the vertical diameter. So, both our thorax expands, abdomen bulges out, so the type of respiration is thoraco-abdominal. Now tell me, in full-term female, why the respiration is only thoracic? Full-term gravid female, 8 months pregnancy, why the type of respiration is thoracic, not abdominal, not abdominal? Why? Huh? Yes. Due to fetus, the diaphragm cannot move করে, but very slight. So vertical diameter টা আর বাড়তে পারে না, especially term pregnancy. So their respiration is mainly thoracic. তাহলে T types of respiration explain why একটা হয়ে গেল। রেসপিরেটরি রেট খুব জিজ্ঞেস করে না, তাও জেনে রাখো, স্পেশালি তিনটে জিনিস, দুটো জানো, নিউবর্ন 30 to 40, 5 ইয়ার্সে 25, অ্যাডাল্টে 12 to 15। মানে যেহেতু অনলি অ্যাবডোমিনাল রেসপিরেশন হয়, so taken up of air is very small, so they have to increase their number of cycle so that the more air will come out, come in. So this is the thoracic cage, already you know. Look, upper ribs are above the the posterior end is lower, up is higher than the anterior end. But in case of a lower ribs, 7 to 12 ribs, look, their upper end is directly downwards, upwards and medially. দুটোর মধ্যে তফাৎ রয়েছে। First 1 to 7 ribs, it is oblique and more or less the cartilages are parallel, oblique. But in lower rib, look, this cartilage is going upwards and medially, and it has got an immense value when we see the movements of respiration. So we can divide the ribs into two categories. Upper ribs, 1st to 6th or 1st to 6th, or 7 to 10th, lower ribs, because their type of movement is different. আসছি একে একে, তাহলে এইটা আইডিয়া হলো। And this is called intercostal space containing intercostal muscles, mainly external intercostal, internal intercostal, and intercostalis intimus. And so outside there is an external intercostal, then there is an internal intercostal, and this is that between this space has got a two parts, interosseous part. এই স্পেসটার দুটো পার্ট রয়েছে, each space has got a two parts. In between the bones, two ribs, bony part, we call interosseous part, and এই পার্টটাকে বলি interchondral part or intercartilaginous part, because it is between the two cartilages, costal cartilage. So each muscle has got a intercostal part and interosseous part, whatever it may be, the external or internal. But in case of external intercostal, what is the difference? In this intercartilaginous part is not muscular, but by a membrane known as external intercostal membrane. So, but in internal intercostal, this is muscular, so muscles are present. And direction of the fibers of the external intercostal is like that, pocket e hat dokaner moto, downwards, forwards and medially. And opposite is the internal intercostal muscle, এরকম, এটা যদি এরকম হয়, এটা এরকম. It is external intercostal, it is this is the direction of the muscle fibers. Right, আর ডিপে যাচ্ছি না, কমপ্লিকেটেড হয়ে যাবে। আচ্ছা, এইবারে যেটা করবে, so Boyle's law states when the pressure will be decreased, how you will decrease the pressure? By increasing the volume. Normal intrapleural pressure, you know, the pleura has got a two layer, outside serous layer attaching to the inside of the intercostal spaces or thoracic cage, and inner visceral layer attached to the lungs. And in between these two layers, there is a space we call pleural space or pleural cavity. Right? which usually contain few cc of pleural fluid. When this space contains pathologically fluid, we call it pleural effusion. And normal intrapleural pressure is negative, about minus 1.5 millimeter of mercury. Minus 1.5 millimeter of mercury. Normal intrapleural pressure is negative, so that visceral and serous pleura become attached together. Normal. I mean, without taking any respiration, it is the normal intrapleural pressure is negative. And whenever we increase the diameter, the volume of the intrapleural space will increase. Dekho, normal, যেই নেগেটিভ ডায়ামিটার বাড়ছে, ভলিউম বেড়ে গেল, it becomes more negative from minus 1.5 millimeter mercury to minus 6 millimeter of mercury at the end of inspiration. And due to the negative pressure, it stretches the lungs to the visceral pleura, it has been attached. So it pulls the lung also outwards. All the diameters of the lung also increase. So that inside lung pressure, we call it intra-alveolar pressure, also become negative among minus 6, more negative, minus 2 millimeter, minus 1.5 to 2 millimeter mercury. In comparison to what? Minus card against a comparison? Minus to what? Atmospheric air, 760 millimeter of mercury. So, air will rush in and inspiration completes. এইবারে খুব সুন্দর করে বোঝো, এইবারে হচ্ছে বোঝা, বইতে সব আছে, নোট করার কোনো দরকার নেই, খুব ভালো করে বোঝো। সো আমাকে টাস্ক দেওয়া হয়েছে, নেচারকে ইউ হ্যাভ টু ইনক্রিজ দ্য ডায়ামিটার, অল দ্য ডায়ামিটার্স। নেচার পরীক্ষায় বসেছে, সিটিং অন দ্য এক্সামিনেশন, এন্ড ইউজিং হিজ ফিজিক্স ল, he is solving this problem. How? He has to increase the anteroposterior diameter. To increase the anteroposterior diameter, she try korche onek jagay, dekhlo, mainly we can use the upper ribs. Upper ribs ke jodi use hoy, beautifully we can increase the anteroposterior diameter. Ki kore? Use korlo kon jinish? Obliquity of the ribs. Obliquity of the ribs. Shobai, obliquity of the ribs. So it is the rib. It is the head of the ribs. It is the anterior end of the ribs or costal cartilage. Eta ki? Sternum. Eta ki? Sternum. First rib is fixed. সুতরাং ফার্স্ট রিব নিয়ে আমরা কথা বলছি না। ফার্স্ট রিব প্রাইমারি কার্টিলেজ জয়েন্ট একদম ফিক্স নড়ে না, আমি সেকেন্ড টু সিক্স রিবের কথা বলছি। সেকেন্ড টু সিক্স রিবস, এবার প্রত্যেকে এরকম করো, হাতে করো, এখানে হাতটা লাগাও ওপরে এরকম করে, দেখো একটা কি বিউটিফুল মুভমেন্ট হবে। লুজ রাখবে, ইউ উইল কিপ দিস হ্যান্ড ভেরি লুজ, মানে এ যখন কোনো মুভমেন্ট করবে তুমি এটাকে মানে যেরকম হবে, মানে ইট উইল গো অ্যাজ ইটস ওন, ইউ ডোন্ট স্ট্রেচ অর রেজিস্ট এনি মুভমেন্ট। নাও দিস ইজ দ্য রিব, সে থার্ড রিব, and এখানে মাসল রয়েছে মেইনলি এক্সটার্নাল ইন্টারকস্টাল অ্যান্ড অপোজিট সাইড অফ ইন্টারনাল ইন্টারকস্টাল, এই করছে। সো দেয়ার ফাংশন অফ এক্সটার্নাল ইন্টারকস্টাল টু এলিভেট দ্য রিব, এলিভেট, it is already elevated, posterior end, it is already elevated, so you can increase only the anterior end. So তোমরা করো, anterior end কে এলিভেট করো, দেখো the sternum moves forwards, খুব লুজলি করো, these hands come forwards, এরকম করবে না, উল্টো দিকে নয়, একদম স্ট্রেইট রাখো। এবার করো এটাকে এরকম ভাবে করো, এই দেখো সামনে চলে যাচ্ছে, মানে সামনে মানে দিস ওয়ান, দেখো এটাকে ওপরে করলো, এটাকে নিচে করো, এই যে ওর হাতটা যাচ্ছে সামনে, দেখো এই অ্যাঙ্গেল দিয়ে বোঝাচ্ছি, দিস, এই দেখো এটা ঠেলা মারছে, করো নিজে, এই দেখো এটা ইট গোজ ফরওয়ার্ডস, এটা অ্যান্টেরিয়ার, এটা পস্টেরিয়ার। ইট লুক, এই দেখো একদম নিচে লাগাও, ইউ পুশ দিস অ্যান্টেরিয়ার এন্ড অ্যান্ড এলিভেট দিস, লুক দিস হ্যান্ড গোজ ফরওয়ার্ড। করো প্রত্যেকে, হচ্ছে? এই দেখো ইট মুভস ফরওয়ার্ড, এই সামনে চলে যাচ্ছে। যে এটা করছো ইট মুভস ফরওয়ার্ডস, হতেই হবে ফিক্সড ফিট, এটাকে মুভ, কারণ ইফ ইট ডাজন্ট ফরওয়ার্ড মুভ ফরওয়ার্ড ইউ ক্যানট, ইট ডাজ হ্যাজ নট গট স্পেস টু মুভ ইট। দেখো ইট গোজ ফরওয়ার্ডস, খুব লুজ রাখো, and same thing happens due to external intercostal muscle. This anterior end which is lowered comes up and moves the sternum anteriorly. যে স্টার্নামটা anteriorly হলো, anteroposterior diameter is increased. কি করে হলো এটা? এটা হচ্ছে anteroposterior diameter, তাই তো? অন্য কালার দিয়ে দিই। এবার যেই স্টার্নাম এইখানটা এসে গেল, সো anteroposterior diameter is increased. হয়ে গেল, and it is looks like a কার মতো? This is the anteroposterior diameter, this is, and when it pull up, টিউকল যখন এখানে ছিল এই পজিশন এরকম, যেই এটাকে ইউ লিফট আপ, the anteroposterior diameter is increased. So this type of movement is known as the pump handle movement. Pump handle movement. আগেকার যুগের you saw the tap, এই যে এই diameter is that, যে you move up diameter is more, and rib is doing in this fashion. So this is known as the pump handle movement, mainly involve the second to sixth rib, forward and upward movement of the body of the sternum. Joints involve costovertebral, costotransverse, costochondral, and chondrosternal joints. And the axis is oblique from the head of the tubercle through opposite costochondral joint. This is the axis of the movement. This is the axis of the movement. Muscles involve external intercostal and contralateral intrachondral part of internal intercostal. এখানে লেখা নেই। এরম ভাবে দেখো বইতে এত পাতা লেখা রয়েছে, কিন্তু 4 লাইনেই ইফ ইউ রাইট ইন দিস ওয়ে এক্সামিনেশন you will have a good marks. Explain, you are need not to explain like a teacher, you just write down the facts, and the facts are like that. সুতরাং এরম ভাবে লিখবে, anteroposterior diameter is increased by pump handle movement. Elevation of the ribs, forward and upward movement of the body of the sternum. Elevation of the rib causing forward and upward movement of the body of the sternum. Joints involved, axis and muscle involved, external intercostal and contralateral intrachondral part of internal intercostal. This. এইটা এবার ছবিটা দেখে বুঝতে পারছো, এই বেড়ে গেল লাইক এ পাম্প। সো anteroposterior diameter is increased by pump handle movement. Is increased by pump handle movement. Next. এটাই পাম্প হ্যান্ডেল মুভমেন্ট। ভালো করে ছবিটা দেখো। এবং প্লুরা is also increased, so volume is increased, more negative, so air will go in. ক্লিয়ার হয়েছে এটা? ক্লিয়ার হয়েছে তো? বিউটিফুল। আমাদের হচ্ছে অলওয়েজ। সো ফিজিক্স ইউ ক্যানট ইগনোর দ্য বেসিক সায়েন্স হুইচ ইজ ভেরি ভেরি ইম্পর্টেন্ট, যেগুলি মেইনলি কলেজে পড়া হয়। বেসিক সায়েন্স ইজ ভেরি ইন্টারেস্টিং অ্যান্ড ইম্পর্টেন্ট, ফিজিক্স, কেমিস্ট্রি, ম্যাথামেটিক্স। আমার খুব ইচ্ছে ছিল, হলো না। আচ্ছা, বাড়ির চাপের ডাক্তারি। increase in all the diameters of the thoracic cage. তারপরে কি বাড়াতে হবে? একটা প্রবলেম সলভ করলো। নেক্সট প্রবলেম ইজ thoracic কেজের ট্রান্সভার্স ডায়ামিটার আউট করতে হবে। সেইখানে ও ইউজ করলো নেচার লোয়ার রিবস। লোয়ার রিবসকে ইউজ করলো 7 to 11th ribs or 7 to 10th ribs। লোয়ার রিবস কি করলো? দেখা গেছে ডিউ টু দিস টাইপ অফ when the external intercostal and the diaphragm together acts, repeat করছি, when the external intercostal and the diaphragm which are attached to the lower ribs, তোমরা diaphragm ক্লাস হয়ে গেছে থিওরিতে? হ্যাঁ, তাহলে কালকে না, কালকে তো না, নাকি কালকে হবে? তাহলে কালকে হবে। ডায়াফ্রাম ইজ ভেরি ভেরি ইম্পর্টেন্ট। ভালো করে অরিজিন, ইনসারশন, অ্যাকশন, নার্ভ সাপ্লাই পড়বে অ্যান্ড অ্যাপ্লাইড অলসো। আচ্ছা, diaphragm is takes origin from the lower ribs. So when the intercostal muscles and the diaphragm acts in the lower ribs, and lower ribs is not oblique like that, but it is mainly like that. ওই যে ছবিটা আঁকলাম এটা, we draw the diagram. এই যে, these are the lower ribs, right? Look, the direction of the upper ribs such, and lower ribs is just opposite, from lower to above. Mainly their direction acting on the rib is like that. So when the intercostal muscles and the diaphragm together acts, lower rib cannot move like a upper ribs this fashion. On the contrary, it moves like that. No, in upper ribs this movement, elevation, but in the lower ribs when the intercostal and the diaphragm acts, it causes outward twist of the ribs, lower ribs, এই রকম, like the bucket, raising the handle of the bucket. Like raising the handle of the bucket. বুঝতে পেরেছো কি? এই রকম করে। Raising the handle of the bucket. So what is the diameter initially? Transverse diameter this. When this transverse diameter is increased. Very simple. So we call it bucket handle movement. We call it bucket handle movement. Ribs involved, mainly the lower ribs. Mainly. Upper ribs hoy, but insignificant. So elevation and outward twist, এই কথাটা লিখতে হবে। Elevation and outward twist, mainly the outward twist. This movement is known as the outward twist. Outward twist, outside the twist হচ্ছে। Outward twist of mainly the lower ribs. Joints involved costotransverse, costochondral, etc. Axis straight from costotransverse to the costochondral joints. একদম স্ট্রেইট। তাহলে আগের পাম্প হ্যান্ডেলের এক্সিসটা ছিল অবলিক, বাট বাকেট হ্যান্ডেলের হচ্ছে স্ট্রেইট। পাম্প হ্যান্ডেলের এক্সিস ফ্রম রাইট সাইড টু লেফট সাইড, আর এটার হচ্ছে সেম সাইড, কস্টোকন্ড্রাল টু দ্য কস্টোস্টার্নাল জয়েন্ট। আচ্ছা, মাসলস ইনভলভ লোয়ার ইন্টারকস্টাল অ্যান্ড দ্য ডায়াফ্রাম। 3 লাইনে দেখো শেষ হয়ে যাচ্ছে। লাস্টটা খুবই ইজি। তাহলে বুঝতে পারছো, এইটা ছিল ডায়ামিটার আগে, এখন ডায়ামিটার হয়ে গেল এতটা, এবং এটাকে বলি আমরা পাম্প হ্যান্ডেল মুভমেন্ট, বাকেট হ্যান্ডেল মুভমেন্ট। তাহলে পাম্প হ্যান্ডেল, বাকেট হ্যান্ডেল দুটো কিন্তু দু রকম। piston movement is very easy, like a piston moving down, diaphragm moving down, so the vertical diameter is increased, pressing the abdominal viscera downwards, abdominal pressure is increased, and as the movement is like a piston, we call it piston movement. So it is the piston movement, and muscle involved is the diaphragm. So what is the principal muscle of inspiration? It is the diaphragm. যদি বলে একটা মাসলের নাম করো, সবার আমাদের টেন্ডেন্সি থাকবে ইন্টারকস্টাল বলার, যেহেতু থোরাক্স ইন্টারকস্টাল। নো, the principal muscles of inspiration is the diaphragm, aided by the intercostal muscles. সুতরাং ডায়াফ্রাম প্যারালিসিস হলে, বোথ সাইড যদি ডায়াফ্রাম প্যারালিসিস হয়ে যায়, ডেথ ইজ ইনএভিটেবল, লাইক এ পিস্টন। এই ডায়ামিটার in after expiration, and like diaphragm moves down, diameter is increased. So, and after inspiration complete and expiration, diaphragm moves up, pressure, vertical diameter gets released, air comes out. Accessory muscles of inspiration. When they are an exaggerated accessory muscle, there are some other muscle comes into access, sternocleidomastoid muscle, scalene, serratus anterior, pectoralis muscle, latissimus dorsi, এটা দেখে নিও, ওগুলি জিজ্ঞেস করে না। এইবারে হচ্ছে কমিউনিটি আছে, আচ্ছা, এইবারে হচ্ছে লাস্ট পার্ট, the most important part is that some of the explain why question I have answered, why the children movement is thoracic, why in the pregnant lady, in children it is abdominal, why in a full term pregnant baby, full term হতে হবে যেন ফিটাসটা এখানে এসে গেছে, it is thoracic, and in adult, normal adult, it is an abdominopelvic, abdominothoracic. I have answered it. Next question then, why pneumonia is common in children after abdominal operation? হবেই তার কোনো মানে নেই, common. If we don't take any care, pneumonia is common in children in, বলে দিচ্ছি আমি, why pneumonia is common in children after abdominal operation. After abdominal operation, abdomen becomes stitched. So what is the normal type of respiration in children? Abdominal. But due to the stitching and the pain, when he tried to do the abdominal respiration, there is a pain, and also due to stitching properly, the diaphragm cannot move down. Whenever diaphragm moves down, there is a pain, and children resist it. So there is a shallow respiration. Shallow means ki less air will entry, lung doesn't expand properly, so that there is a chance of accumulation of fluid inside the alveoli. ভালো করে এক্সপিরেশন হচ্ছে না, এয়ার ফিল আপ হচ্ছে না, অ্যাবডোমেন ট্রাই টু কোলাপস থাকলে ওখানে ফ্লুইড জমে যায়। সো দিস ফ্লুইড মে বি ইনফেক্টেড, leading into infection of the lungs known as the pneumonia. So why pneumonia is common in children after abdominal operation? Due to their hindrance of the abdominal type of respiration. as there is a pain and difficulty of movement of the diaphragm, difficult movement, there is a pain, and also there is an resisted the diaphragmatic movement, resulting into shallow respiration, arrow, accumulation of fluid in the lungs, arrow, chance of infection. Infection hobei na, chance of infection of the lungs is more, so pneumonia is common. This will be the answer. Which side is preferable to lie? আরেকটা বলে দেই এখানে, ফিজিক্সে পড়েছো, কি বলে ভুলে গেলাম, স্টার্লিংস ল অফ মাসল পড়ানো হয়নি এখনো? আচ্ছা, একটা ল রয়েছে, উইদিন একটা রাবার ব্যান্ড এইটুকুনি স্ট্রেচ করলে, ইফ ইউ স্ট্রেচ দিস অ্যান্ড stretch it and then loosen, it will come in a force, suppose A. The force is suppose 10 bar or something. And if you stretch more and you loosen it, the coming down of the this muscle is more or less? More. Very good. It will be more. এইটুকুনি ছেড়ে ছাড়লে যে force it will get back, মানে contraction হচ্ছে, so when it coming down we call it contraction, right? When a rubber band is stretched, we coming down, it is a contraction. It is an expansion, so it is a contraction. Suppose you stretch this much, so contraction is A. If you stretch this much, contraction is B. If it is a B, obviously you can easily know B is greater than A. কারণ আরো জোরে তুমি রাবারটা ছেড়ে দেখো, এখান থেকে ছাড়ো, লাগবেই না, এতটা জোরে ছেড়ে দেখো। তার মানে কি, within a physiological limit, if you stretch more, contraction is more. But if you stretch rubber in such a way that elasticity gets lost, then this law doesn't hold water. So same thing applied in the muscle. If we stretch a muscle in a physiological limit, যত স্ট্রেচ করবে, তো উইদিন এ ফিজিওলজিক্যাল লিমিট থাকতে হবে, একদম টেনে ছিঁড়ে ফেলে দিলাম, নো। ইফ ইউ টিয়ার দ্য মাসল ফাইবার্স, নো। উইদিন এ ফিজিওলজিক্যাল, ইফ ইউ টু স্ট্রেচ, কন্ট্রাকশন ইজ মোর। এটা ইয়ে। সুতরাং ডায়াফ্রাম যতটা উপরে উঠবে, সো কাম ডাউন বেটার উইদিন এ ফিজিওলজিক্যাল লিমিট। ক্লিয়ার হলো কি এটা? ডায়াফ্রাম when gets more up, so diaphragm become more stressed. Diaphragm normal position is like that. So if any condition you stress the diaphragm up, and when the diaphragm acts during inspiration, its force of contraction is more. As the force of contraction is more, the pulling of the lung is more, respiration, inhalation is more, respiration is more. Taken off air into the mouth. So, in other way we can say, more the diaphragm is up in the thorax, more effective is the inspiration. বলতে পারি কি, যতটা থোরাক্সে উপরে উঠে থাকবে, আমি একবার একটু একে বোঝাই আজকে। This is the diaphragm. This is the diaphragm. Within a physiological limit, when the normal inspiration, it contracts and moves down up to this. Now, if the diaphragm, due to somehow, if you raise the diaphragm, due to somehow reason, key reason আমি আসছি, if you raise the height of the diaphragm, এটা হচ্ছে height of the diaphragm. If you raise the height of the diaphragm, its contraction is more than this, খুব ভালো নামবে, কারণ অ্যাকর্ডিং টু স্টার্লিংস ল অফ ফিজিওলজিতে যে মোর দ্য হাইট মোর দ্য কন্ট্রাকশন, more the effective length of the diaphragm, more the contraction. It is the rule. So, when we standing down, sorry, bhul bollam. When we standing up, right? আমরা দাঁড়িয়ে আছি, অথবা বসে আছি, হ্যাঁ, তাহলে কি হলো? The liver and the other viscera will go down, right? So the diaphragm also go down, হচ্ছে না, মানে also go down. So effective length is not stretched, not too much. So contraction is somehow it is X. Suppose ধরো 10. Now patient শুয়ে আছে with a head end of the bed raised. Reclining position with head end of the bed এরকম হয়ে যাবে। With a head end of the bed raised, প্রায় দেখা যায় তুমি, if you go to the hospital bed you see with a sorry head নয়, foot end of the bed is raised. I am really sorry, foot end of the bed raised. তাহলে কি করবে? এই abdominal viscera, এই যে লিভার আছে, it pushes the diaphragm up. If it is in the physiological limit, contraction is more, so a respiration is more effective. So দেখবে আউটডোরে গিয়ে অনেক সময় যাদের অপারেশন হয়েছে ফুট এন্ড অফ দ্য বেড রেজ করে দেওয়া হয়েছে, তাতে রেসপিরেশন ইজ এফেক্টিভ হয়, অ্যাকুমুলেশন অফ ফ্লুইডটা কম হয়। বুঝতে পেরেছ? গেল। এরপরে তাহলে আরেকটা এক্সপ্লেন ভাই হলো, কেমন? আচ্ছা, কিন্তু তার ক্ষতিও আছে। কি ক্ষতি? সাপোজ রাইট লাংয়ে একটা প্যাথোলজি রয়েছে, প্যাথোলজি বলে ক্যান্সার রয়েছে বা নিউমোনিয়া রয়েছে, লেফট লাং নর্মাল। ভালো করে শোনো, ডায়াফ্রাম, এগেইন ইউ সি, diaphragm has got look like a that. It has got a right half and a left half. মাঝখানে একটা টেন্ডন রয়েছে, সেন্ট্রাল টেন্ডন। As if though diaphragm is a single muscle, it acts as a there are two domes, we call it the domes. Two domes has got acts differently. গেল। এরপরে নেক্সট কোশ্চেন যেটা আসছে, অ্যান্সার বলে দিয়েছি রে। একটা ইউনিল্যাটারালি এফেক্টেড লাং, রাইট লাং এফেক্টেড রয়েছে, পেশেন্ট কিভাবে প্রেফারেবলি শুতে বেডে পছন্দ করবে? অ্যান্সার রয়েছে অন দ্য নর্মাল সাইড। ওয়াই? আমি যেটা বললাম এবার বলো, বলো। মানে একটু হিন্টস দিয়ে দিচ্ছি, ইফ একটু হিন্টস দিই তাহলে বুঝতে পারবে। ইফ দ্য লাং বিকাম মোর এক্সপান্স অর ডিক্রিজ এক্সপান্স হয়, ইট বিকামস মোর পেইনফুল টু দ্য পেশেন্ট। তাহলে এবার বলো, হোয়াই হি প্রেফার টু, এই বই দেখছো কেন? হোয়াই হি প্রেফার টু, নিজে বুদ্ধি করে বলো না, পারবে। হোয়াই হি প্রেফার টু লাই অর শি প্রেফার্স টু লাই অন দ্য নর্মাল সাইড? ইয়েস, যদি এফেক্টিভ সাইড, এইটা এফেক্টিভ সাইড, আমি এই সাইডে শুচ্ছি, শুয়ে থাকা মানে কি? আমরা দাঁড়িয়ে থাকলে লিভার গোজ ডাউন, ডায়াফ্রাম গোজ ডাউন, যেই শুয়ে যাচ্ছি লিভার কামস আপ, সো ডায়াফ্রাম হাইট ইজ মোর। যে সাইডে শোবো সেই সাইডের হাইট, দ্য হাইট অফ দ্য ডায়াফ্রাম, এটা ক্লিয়ার করো, If we lie on one side, একটা সাইডে শুয়ে আছি, রাইট সাইডে, it has got a diaphragm, has got a two dome. এটা আমার দিকে তাকাও, আমি এই সাইডে, I am lying on the bed by my right side of the chest, touching the bed, and diaphragm has got a two dome. And if we touching on the right side, right dome will be higher due to pressure of the liver. When we stand up, liver will go down, diaphragm up. But when you will lie up, the abdominal viscera coiled up, goes up and pushes that part of the diaphragm up. So which dome of the diaphragm will act more effectively? Right or left? Right or left? Right. খুব ভালো কথা, right effective করছে. So the lungs, disease lungs also moving up and down, causing severe pain to the patient. So patient will not lie বললেও শোবে না on that side, he will lie on the normal side. সেখানে উঠে থাকুক, সে করুক। জাস্ট অপোজিট হবে কিন্তু প্লুরিসিতে। আসবো আমি, আজকে একটু আগে বেরোতে হবে আমাকে, 53-55 বেরিয়ে যাবো। খুব ইন্টারেস্টিং না? এক্সপ্লেন করতে পারছো তো? কিন্তু আগে বেসিক, ইউ হ্যাভ টু নো দ্য বেসিক। যেই শুয়ে থাকছি এই ডোমটা ডায়াফ্রাম বেশি, নো ডাউট রেসপিরেশন ইজ মোর, but it causing pain to the patient. So patient, ask the patient to lie on the normal side. এটা একটা গেল, বাট এটা বলে দেই, এটা পরের দিন পড়াবো। আর আচ্ছা গেল, নেক্সট হচ্ছে কি, বাট অপোজিট ইজ দ্য প্লুরিসি, বাট দ্য রিজন ইজ ডিফারেন্ট। In dry pleurisy means ki infection of the pleura. Infection of pleura has got a two phase. Initially the infection is, when the infection is initial phase, when the first attack of pleural inflammation, the two pleura becomes inflamed. Inflamed means ki it becomes slightly reddened, swollen and very painful. Which one is very painful? Not the visceral pleura but the parietal pleura. Because visceral pleura has got autonomic nervous, it is not painful. So initially, when there is a movement of the respiration, so there is a rubbing of the pleura, parietal with a visceral pleura, right? So when there is a friction, severe pain. But if the patient lie on the affected side, the friction is minimized. শুয়ে আছে, ফ্রিকশনটা অতটা হয় না। সো পেশেন্ট ইজ প্রেফারেবলি লাই অন দ্য এফেক্টেড সাইড ইন কেস অফ এ ড্রাই প্লুরিসি। আবার কিছুদিন পর, একদিন পরে পেশেন্ট বললো স্যার ব্যথা চলে গেছে। কেন? দেয়ার ইজ অ্যান অ্যাকুমুলেশন অফ ফ্লুইড উইদিন দ্য প্লুরাল ক্যাভিটি, সেপারেটিং দ্য টু প্লুরা উইথ ওয়ান অ্যানাদার। যেই সেপারেট হলো, নো রাবিং, এখানে ফ্লুইড রয়েছে, সো পেইন ইজ ভ্যানিশড। দিস ইজ দ্য অ্যানাদার কোশ্চেন, যে why initially there is a pain, after that the pain becomes lessened or reduced. তাহলে আজকে এটা থাক।
Education and communication, that is IEC, and last one is behavior change communication, that is BCC. Okay, so perhaps all of you know about what is health right now. Who can say the WHO definition of health? Anybody else? পড়ানো হয়েছে তো? Is it? It has been already discussed. I told you, and several times it has been discussed by very many teachers. Is it? Health. বাংলাতে আমরা কি বলি? স্বাস্থ্য. So according to WHO, the definition of health is a state of complete 4 dimensions. Health is a state of complete physical, mental, social and spiritual health. Okay, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. If we do not feel that yes, we are suffering from any disease, disease means disease, we are not easy, not well feeling, okay, still we cannot say that we are healthy. So there are 4 dimensions of health: physical, mental, social and spiritual. Now our objective is to promote health. Promote means the change of positions. Is it? Change of positions from lower level to upper level. That is promotion. School e tomra pore escho promotion. Class 2 to 3, there is promotion from lower level to upper level. Here, our objective is what are the different principles, what are different ways and means to promote health. That means health promotions. In other words, sometimes or not always, we can say promotion of health is equivalent to improvement of health. How to improve health? How to promote health? Today, this is the topics for discussions. How to promote health? What is health promotion actually? And what are the strategies and principles of health promotions? Then we will start out IC and BCC. Okay. Health promotions. What is that? It's a process of enabling or helping people to gain control over the determinants of health. Perhaps again it has been discussed in this community health class, is it? What are the determinants of health? Health promotion means it's a process through which we can help people to gain control or to increase control over the determinants of health and improve health. Determinants of health, to gain control over the determinants of health and improve health. That is health promotions. So, if we want to promote health, then first we have to know what are the different determinants of health. Right now we discussed about the dimension of health. No, the determinants of health means the factors that influence our health, whether we will be healthy or not, whether our community is healthy or not. That will be determined by few factors. These are called the determinants of health. So, if we want to improve health or if we want to promote health, we have to increase control over the determinants of health. There are different determinants of health, okay, one by one. I will try to share with you about the different determinants of health. So, when you think about the health promotions, it goes beyond the level of individuals, okay. It goes beyond the level of individuals, it goes up to the community, group and community as a whole. So, it moves beyond the focus on individual behavior towards a wide range of social and environmental interventions. That means, if we want to promote health, not only we will think about the promotion of individual health, but the health of the community as a whole. Again, if we want to promote community health, we have to think about social factors and economic factors and other environmental factors which influence our health. Is it clear? Intervention means what? Interference. Health promotion is concerned with improving health. By what? By how? By seeking to influence. Number one, lifestyle. What does it mean? Lifestyle. Lifestyle kake bole? Way of living. How we spend our life. Okay, that is called lifestyles. When we get up from the bed, what we are eating, how we are spending life, what about the physical activity, all these things are called way of life. How we are exchanging our views and thoughts with others, interactions with others, these are called ways of life, lifestyles. Next one is improvement of health services. Number one, way of life or lifestyle, very good. And second one is improvement of health services. So, there are different health services that are being provided by our government as well as private sectors. So, that things we have to improve, and we have to provide services for the well-being of the people. Next one is, third one is modifying environments. That I told you that health promotions goes beyond individuals' focus. Okay, it requires interventions through different ways of environment. So we have to modify the environment. There are different types of environment: physical environment, social environment, biological environments. We have to modify that. Then only it is possible to promote our health. Okay. And next one's just repetition, nothing but health promotion addresses the determinants of health through two ways. Number one, health education and advocacy for policy change. We have to provide health education, what for? To change the behavior of the individual, to change the behavior of the community, to change the behavior of the group. At the same time, we have to advocate for changing the policy. If there is no change in health policy, so no improvement can be taken place as a whole that can be sustainable. For the reasons, if we want to promote health, we have to think about two things. Number one, health education as well as health advocacy. Advocacy means pleading, nothing but appealing. Health promotions operates through number one, health education, and number two, advocacy for healthy public policy and program. Okay. Approaches of health promotion, there are two approaches. One is health education, what for? For improving individual capacities. What does it mean to improve individual capacities? When we can be able to improve or develop the capacities of individuals, it requires knowledge, it requires change of attitudes, and requires question of skills. Then it is called capacity. So through health education, we can increase the capacity of the individuals. At the same time, we have to advocate for healthy public policies to provide supportive environment. There are very many examples of advocacy for changing public health policies. Say for examples, banning tobacco use in common places. We should not, rather we will be penalized if we smoke within the public premises. There is a law. A restriction of alcohol use in certain places. This is public health policy. Once this law has been enacted and it is being implemented, we differ from these practices. So public health policy is required. At the same time, we have to educate people about the ill effects of smoking, alcohol. So advocacy is required. Now, two things. One is health education, then advocacy. Now, health education, nothing but it's a process of changing the health behavior. Process of changing the health behavior of the individuals, health behavior of the group, health behavior of the community. Okay. If you want to improve health, promote health, behavior change is very important. Which type of behavior we like to change? Which type of health behavior we like to change? In the last class I told, you have forgotten. কি ধরনের ব্যবহার আমরা পরিবর্তন স্বাস্থ্য সম্পর্কিত কি ধরনের ব্যবহার আমরা পরিবর্তন করতে চাই? What type of health behavior we like to change? বলো, কি ধরনের ব্যবহার আমরা চেঞ্জ করতে চাই? হেলথ রিলেটেড বিহেভিয়ার, the behavior that is not good, সেই ধরনের বিহেভিয়ার আমরা চেঞ্জ করব, is it? we are taking healthy diet. Would you like to change that type of behavior? No. Okay. Examples here, open defecations. Perhaps you know the meaning of open defecations? Open defecations, what is the meaning of that? আমি বলে দেবো ওপেন ডেফিকেশন বুঝতেই পারলো না। হোয়াট ইজ দ্য মিনিং অফ ওপেন ডেফিকেশন? বাংলা দিয়ে বলো, ইংলিশ দিয়ে বলো, হোয়াট এভার মে বি। ওপেন ডেফিকেশন ওয়ান বাই ওয়ান, একজন বলো। ওপেন ডেফিকেশন, এই না বলে তো মুশকিল রে বাবা। হ্যাঁ বলো। আচ্ছা, বাংলাতে বলো দেখি একটু সুন্দর করে কেউ, বা ইংলিশ দিয়ে বলো। ওপেন ডেফিকেশন, ডেফিকেট মিনস হোয়াট? হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ, বাইরে বাংলাতে বলা হয়, সোজা কথায় বাংলাতে বাইরে পায়খানা। Apart from using the Santiniketan Latin, if we defecate the boost anywhere else, that is called open defecation. Would you like to change it? Is it? Nobody should defecate in the open places. Nobody should, or rather we can say everybody must use sanitary latrine. Everybody must use sanitary latrine. Okay. Next, hand washing. Just examples, change of behavior. Hand washing, wash your hands with soap and water before taking food, after must, after defecation. Taking food, after defecation, hand washing, breastfeeding. Every mother, newly delivered mothers must breastfeed their babies. It happens. It is a prevailing practice that mothers used to provide breast milk to their babies. But how long? That is the question number one. Is it only breastfeeding? That is the question. It is a common practice or traditions that every mothers in our country, at least, not in our country, all the developing countries, okay, used to provide breast milk to their babies. But the way, the process they use to provide breast milk may not correct. That means till today many mothers do not practice. Every mother must practice exclusive breastfeeding. That means breastfeeding up to 6 months without providing or giving even a sip of water. Only breast milk up to 6 months without giving any food, any fluid, nothing else. So, through health educations, we can change it, we should change it. Again, next example is lifestyle modifications like tobacco use, alcohol use, diet and physical activity. That means nobody should use tobacco, nobody should use alcohol, everybody should take or consume what type of diet? Now the proper. What does it mean proper? Proper কাকে বলবো? তোমার কাছে যেটা প্রপার আমার কাছে প্রপার নয়। Is it? Proper is a relative concept. So what type of diet? What diet we should use? Consume? ডায়েটের আগে একটা ওয়ার্ড লাগাও, সুন্দর ওয়ার্ড। What diet? Balanced diet. Everybody must use balanced diet. Or rather you can say again healthy diet, তাও সেই হয়ে গেল, ওটাও রিলেটিভ, স্টিল healthy diet, balanced diet. And next one is physical activity. Everybody must do it. There are different types of activities, okay? As per the activity we can divide ourselves into three. One is sedentary, next one is পড়েছো ক্লাস 12 পড়ানো হয় বোধহয় তোমাদের sedentary, moderate, heavy. At least everybody must be a moderate worker. That means a little bit, at least physical activity we should. Okay, that can be modified through health education. Health again, health education is concerned with utilization of available health services. So, if we want to promote health, কি হলো তোমাদের চার বাচ্চার কি হচ্ছে? If we want to promote health, we have to change our behavior. At the same time, we have to use prevailing or we have to utilize prevailing health services that are being provided by private authority as well as public, means government authorities. What are those available of health services? Like immunization, IFA tablet. IFA means iron and folic acid tablet, periodical health checkup, etc. We should use it, then only it will possible to promote our health. At the same time, we should encourage through health education, we should encourage participations. Whose participations? People's participations, communities' participations. Community will participate in different health programs so that they can be come forward to utilize these services like screening of cervical cancers, breast cancers, etc. Now, the first I told you health promotion means it's a process of gaining control over the determinants of health. I told you there are different determinants of health. Now, these are the determinants. We have to gain control over all the determinants. Not possible always, but we have to try. Then only we can think about health promotions. What is that? First one is social and economic environment. That is important. Don't only think about physical health only. Okay. This health depends upon so many factors. Number one, social and economic environment, like education. There is a relation between education and health, is it? Is there a relationship between education and health? Assume. Yes or no? Yes. More the education, more the knowledge about health, is it? So, we have to improve education systems, literacy, then income. Is there a relation between income and health? Ache? Kibabe, how we can establish that there is a relation between income and achieving health? Act example now, simple examples, use balanced diet. If you want to take balanced diet, consume balanced diet, means proportional quantity of carbohydrate, protein, fat, minerals, vitamins. So, we require money, is it? Usually what happens in the rural areas or among the low socio-economic group of populations, maximum people used to consume carbohydrate. Carbohydrate more than protein, is it? So, there is a relationship between income and health. Likewise, social status and health, these are the determinants. Social support network, again, that is important. How we can say social support network is important? Say for example, we are advocating that every mother must bring their children for immunizations. It requires social support. While moving out of this home, a mother is bringing or going to health centers for immunizations. One never asks her, where you are going? To immunize my child. Bogus things. Don't take it. Your husbands did not take any immunizations. Is it? No, that I do not know. You ask your sas, you ask your mother-in-law. Okay. Then she has returned back. That means social support network was not there. That we have to improve. And at the same time, culture. What is culture? Culture is also one of the important determinants of health. What is culture? Culture means prevailing practices, regarding so many things which is being handed down from generation to generation. This is going on. That is culture. Christy in Bengali call it. Okay. Next one is physical environment. That is also important determinants of health. For example, we are telling about safe water. পরিশুদ্ধ জল পান করো, but if there is no safe water, what will happen? I am advocating for safe water, use safe drinking water, but that safe drinking water is not available. Is it possible then the people to drink safe water? No, it is not available. So for the reason we will change the environment, physical environment, we have to provide safe water. Again, so many diseases are there that spread through air, moving in the air. If the air is not clean, air pollution, so many diseases occurs. So we have to change the air also, we have to clean air, provide healthy workplace. That is again important. At least minimum 8 hours we used to spend in workplace. At least 8 hours. So if the environment of the workplace is not healthy, healthy means not only physically health, physical, social, okay, supporting network. If it is not healthy, what will happen? Always stress, always stress. So mind will be full of sorrow while working. How we can think about achieving health? We cannot. So healthy workplace must be there. At the same time, safe house. Housing has already been discussed perhaps. Characteristics of the healthy house. Can anybody tell me? It has already been discussed. Healthy house? What is a healthy house? Is it healthy? This one? Free from dust, free from smoke, not dampness, no dampness, airy, okay, enough space. These are healthy. So healthy house is also important. These are under physical environment. And third one, the people, individual characteristics and behavior. That is also important. Few diseases are genetic disease. Is it? Non-modifiable risk factors. They are there. So genetics, gender, personal behavior, like again same thing, healthy diet, physical activity, smoking, alcohol, and last one that is also very important, which we often forget. Which we often forget. What is that? That is stress. That is stress. Except child, nobody is free from stress. Is it? Except child, nobody is free from stress. Stress will be there in our life, but we have to learn how to cope it. There are different coping skills through which we can minimize our stress. This also one of the important determinants of health which influence our health. While thinking about health promotions, we have to think about all these determinants of health. Now, I have discussed different determinants of health. Now see, out of 100%, 40%, whether we can be able to achieve our health, or promotion of health, 40% depends upon socio-economic factors. It is calculated through experimentations. They experimented already that 40% depends upon education, job status, family support and income. That is 40%. Next, 10% depends upon physical environment like healthy house. Next, 30% depends upon health behaviors, 30%. Tobacco use, diet, physical activity, alcohol use and sexual activity, that is 30%. And the rest, 20% depends upon utilization of healthcare services or healthcare. So this is about, that means access and quality care 20%, 40%, 30%, 10%, 20%. These are the determinants of health. If all these are okay, then only we can think about improvement of health through health promotions. Okay. But the concept, health promotion, the concept was there when public health began to start in our country. Okay. But the strategies, the principles of health promotion started at 1980s only, not before that. When we think about the levels of prevention, already been discussed. Levels of prevention, what is the first levels of prevention? Levels of prevention, primordial, primary, secondary and tertiary. While think about the primary levels of prevention, there are two interventions. Ki, bhule gele cholbe na, third year to porikha ache. Levels of prevention, primordial, primary, secondary, tertiary. When you think about the primary levels of prevention, there are two interventions. One is health promotions, another is specific protection. So first one is health promotions. Okay. But you see, the strategies and principles started in the 80s when the first international conference was held on health promotions in Ottawa in 1986. Okay. Then starts the basic strategies of health promotions identified at Ottawa Charter in the year 1986. What is this? These three strategies: advocate, enable, mediate. Advocate means what? Pleading. Okay. Always thinking about creating public opinion about health promotions. Do this, do that. Then there will be some law through advocacy. Advocacy in what level? In higher level. Ministry level, at the same times in autocratic level, because they are the planners and policy makers. Then only down the level we can think about the implementations. Once there is a law, policy, then we think about the implementation. So advocate, to boost the factors which encourage health. Next one is enable. That means enabling people to do through providing knowledge by changing their attitudes. And third one is mediate. That means through intersectoral cooperation and coordinations. So three strategies: advocate, enable and mediate. Basic characteristics of health promotion. There are four basic characteristics of health promotion. Number one, enabling people to take control over. Over means, to take control over means the determinants of health and responsibility for their health as an important component of everyday life. Next one is requiring close cooperations, and media. We always tell, আমাদের স্বাস্থ্য আমাদের হাতে. Our health is in our hand. If we do not participate in health program, other programs, we cannot achieve health. Next, I discuss about the basic characteristics, discuss about the approach of health promotion, and next one is principles of health promotion. Principle means axiom, what we have to keep in your mind while working. So, these principles we have to keep in your mind. First principle is empowerment. Empower means providing knowledge, changing attitude so that people can be able to gain greater control over decisions and actions affecting their health. Is it clear? Empowerment? We have to take decisions, but the decisions must be logical, must be realistic. That decisions will affect our health. That is called empowerment. And next one is participation. Whatever may be the programs undertaken by the government sectors or private sectors, it is meaningless until and unless people participate in the program, take part in the program and utilize the services. That is participation. And third one is, it is holistic. Holistic means from each and every corner, each and every part, beyond the health sectors, we have to engage all the sectors for health promotions. Health is an asset. Without health, we cannot do anything else. If we do not feel healthy, even we cannot operate this one also. For that reason, approach must be holistic, and next one is equitable. The outcome of the services or from the services we take should ensure fairness. That means outcome must be good. Next one is, once again, I am repeating nothing but that is intersectoral. What is that? Working in partnership with other relevant agencies or organizations. And next one is sustainable. What things today we will do, it must sustain. আজকে করলাম কালকে চলে গেল, no, it will prevail. Okay, it will sustainable. And last one is multi-strategy. That means if we want to promote health, we have to work with different strategies, different approaches, different ways, different methods. যেভাবেই হোক না কেন, we have to achieve our health. So these are the principles of health promotions. Now, in order to promote health, 5 action areas were identified. তোমরা যারা অন্য জায়গায় লেখাপড়া করছো, প্লিজ you can go out of the class and read and study other subjects. Attendance দিয়ে দাও, দিয়ে চলে যাও। আননেসেসারি বসে থেকে তো লাভ নেই। যারা শুনছে তাদের প্রবলেম হবে, প্রত্যেকে ভুগবে কিন্তু থার্ড ইয়ারে। আমি থাকবো কি থাকবো না বড় কথা নয়, থার্ড ইয়ার জন্য পরীক্ষা দেবে, তখন যখন প্রিন্সিপাল হেলথ প্রমোশন পড়বে ভুলে গেছে। Okay, fine. Action areas. The World Health Organization took a leading role in action for health promotions in the 1980s, with the Ottawa Charter has been published in 1986. 5 key areas have been identified. What are those 5 key areas? Number 1, developing healthy public policies. That means if you want to do anything, there must be a policy. Without policy, nobody will be interested to do anything else. If anybody come forward, there must be a different types of barriers. To overcome the barriers, there must be a policy. Policy means document. Nothing but written document must be there. Okay. What about the policy? Examples: banning tobacco, using helmets. Next, while driving, don't drink, use seat belt. So these are the public health policies. Creating supportive environments. Next one, we are telling about banning of open defecations. We are telling about washing hands. We are telling about immunizations. Okay. So environment, if the environment is not supportive, that means if all the facilities are not available, how we can expect that the behavior of the people will be changed? So it requires support, environment must be supportive. Say for example, we are thinking about this knowledge, increasing knowledge. Okay, education. If this classroom is not supportive, how we can expect that people will learn? If it is too much cold, if it is too much hot, too much humid, so how we can concentrate yourself in the classroom teaching? So environment must be supportive. And third one is strengthening community actions. We are providing services, but community should come forward. That means we must aware the community about their demand. We have to generate the demand. Then only people will come forward to accept. Next one is developing personal skills. That is again important for health promotion. We are telling about hand washing, but they do not know how to wash their hands. That is developing personal skills. These are the areas. And last one is reorient health services. The days are being changed. The disease patterns are being changed. Our lifestyles are being changed. Everything is being changed. So automatically we have to reorient our health services, keeping space with these changing environments. So these are the 5 action areas. That means working areas for health promotion. Okay. Next concept. So health promotion is finished. What I told you, what is health promotions? Strategies of health promotions, characteristics of health promotions, principles of health promotions, and action areas of health promotion. 5 things I have discussed. What is that? One is concept of health promotions. Next one, strategies of health promotions, characteristics of health promotions, principles of health promotions, and working areas of health promotions. Clear? 5 marks you can expect. Third year, not now. That's why you are not thinking about. Okay, you have to keep things. Okay. Next, concept of IEC. The word is not new to you. IC, informations, education, and communications. If we want to change the behavior of the people, we have to inform people, we have to educate people, we have to communicate with the people. Then only we can think about IEC and change of behavior. So what is IEC? IEC is a pre-planned educational endeavor with specific objectives to reach specific audience by skillful use of appropriate methods and materials within specific time period. It's a process, it is a strategy through which objective is to change the health behavior, which are not conducive, which are not congenial, which are not desirable, which are not good. Then bad practices we have to change. How we can change? Through IEC. If you want to change any behavior, particular behavior you have to identify. Card behavior, whose behavior? That means specific target audience. Again, how we can change it? That means by using different methods, different media, different material, and within a specific time period. That is IEC. Okay, next, definition of IEC by WHO. Same thing. Again I am repeating. for the sake of your convenience only. IC refers to a public health approach. It's a public health approach. What for? Aiming at changing or reinforcing health related behavior. Changing health related behavior. Which health related behavior? Which are not good. That health related behavior we would like to change. So IC is approach, public health approach through which we can aim to change the health related behavior or reinforcing health related behavior in a target audience. Target audience means a specific audience for which we are trying to change, for whom we are trying to change the behavior. Target audience concerning a specific problem, not in general one, specific problem, and within a predefined period of time. How? Through communication methods and principles. That is definition of IC given by WHO. If we clarify these definitions, what happens you see, this is. These definitions helps to have a clear objective. What is the objective? To change the specific health related behavior. Say for examples, mothers are not providing exclusive breastfeeding, or a mother is not providing, what I should say, colostrum, the first milk. Okay. That is a specific behavior to change. Next, who are this target group? Mothers. Okay. Mothers of newly born child or under 5. Address a specific problem. Which specific problem? Breastfeeding may be a problem. Maybe discarding of colostrum is a problem. The basic problems. And set a time frame within which the results are expected to occur. So this is IEC. Is it clear? Not clear? IEC কি থাকতে হবে? Specific objective, specific target group, specific problem or within a specific time period by using different communication methods, different communication material, different communication approaches. IC combines, you see, strategies, different strategies may be there, approaches and methods that enable individuals, families, groups, organizations and communities to play active role in achieving, protecting and sustaining their own health. Sometimes to achieve a specific behavior, sometimes to protect ourselves, sometimes to sustain the changing behavior. It's a process of learning that empowers people to take decisions, modify behavior and change social conditions also. Information, education, communication. Aims and scope of IC. These are the resources: print media, IC material; mass media, IC material; television, IC material; radio, IC material; internet, IC material; levels of IC, all levels, individual levels; provides opportunities to develop knowledge, skills and confidence. It creates awareness, reinforce to sustain behavior, community level, informing, persuading, encouraging and motivating. Now, latest concept from IC, now we have come to BCC, behavior change communications. What is behavior change communications? In IC, what I told, IC is a pre-planned educational endeavor with specific objectives to reach specific audience by using skillful methods and media within a time frame. That's all. But here BCC is an interactive process with the communities. That means while thinking about the behavior change communications, always we have to interact with the community. What for? To develop tailored message. What does it mean? Message means informations. Tailored message means definitely specific. The shirt that will be fitted to him may not be fitted to him. According to the size, according to the volume, we go to the tailor, cutting the clothes, then stitching. So that is called tailored message. According to the need, according to the characteristics of the specific populations, we have to prepare the message. The message that will be prepared for you, it may not be applicable to the students of other courses excepting MBBS. Is it? So that is called tailored message. So BCC is an interactive process with the communities to develop tailored message and approaches. Approaches will be different. Man to man differ korbe, community to community will be differ. According to the target audience, we have to prepare the message, we have to think about the specific approaches. How? Using a variety of communication channels. Different communication channels are there, audio, visual, audiovisual, to develop positive behavior. Number one, promote and sustain individual, community and societal behavior change. That is important. That is the difference between IC and BCC. In IC, no question about changing the societal behavior. We think about this individual behavior and community behavior. But here, societal behavior change and maintain appropriate behaviors. That is behavior change communication. Now, behavior change communications is primarily concerned with creating a conducive environment. That means we have to think about the conducive environment. That means supportive environment. That means enabling environment to change their behavior from negative to positive. That means environment will be changed in BCC, behavior change communication. Really, if we want to change the unhealthy behavior of the community, we have to change the whole environmental behavior. Then only it is possible. Say for example, suppose, again I am telling you that a mother intend to go to immunize their child. Fine. While she is going out of the home, her mother-in-law asked, why you are going? To immunize our child, no need to go. That means barrier. That means environment is not supporting. So now immunization is not complete. So this is not BCC. It creates enabling how? Identifying or reducing barriers. Number two, promoting benefits or boosters. So BCC facilitates individuals and community to transfer information into a desirable behavioral actions. It employs, it means behavior change communication employs systematic process beginning with formative research. That means we have to conduct research in the field. Why this behavior is going on, faulty behavior? Who are responsible for that? What are the barriers of this behavior? Why people? Then the question of why. Why people are not using these health services? What are the barriers? That we have to find out by formative research. Then we have to analyze their behavior. Then we have to plan the communication. We have to implement the communication process. At the same time, we have to monitor and evaluate. Then only behavior change communication is possible. It's very difficult, time consuming. Now, difference between IC and BCC. BCC moves people from awareness to action. But IC programs have resulted in improved health knowledge. Through IC we can improve the knowledge. But IC often failed to produce behavior change because other components we did not consider while framing the IC strategy. That's why we move from IC to right now behavior change communications. IC campaigns are often better at imparting knowledge and information than they are at moving people from awareness to action. BCC moves people from awareness to action. What for? How? By motivating people to believe that health benefits will be obtained by changing behavior. That means you have to motivate people that if you change your behavior, if your behavior is changed, then automatically health benefit will come out. In BCC we do it. BCC goes beyond just providing information to an approach that provides both informations and at the same time there will be appeal to individual emotional appeals. Appeal means what? Appeal, বাংলাতে আমরা বলি তো appeal করি, আবেদন. There are different types of appeals. We have to think about the emotional appeal. We have to struck the minds of the emotions of the people. তোমরা এখনো দেখতে পাবে, you see in the tin milk, picture of a healthy baby, হাসছে একটা baby, automatically mother should be motivated. These are created by the commercial companies. Automatically মা ছুটবে তোমার breast milk বাদ দিয়ে tin milk খাওয়াতে. Emotional appeal, that is. So we have to think about that also. So this is repetition and last one. BCC is a communication process definitely to promote and maintain appropriate health behavior. Now appropriate health behavior, what behavior we require? BCC helps to promote that one. Now how we can change our behavior? First, people may be unaware about a thing. Unaware, then next stage is they will be aware through BCC, then concerned. Aware, unaware, aware, concerned. Means yes, it is our problem. That is called concern. Then people will gain knowledge through BCC. Knowledgeable, then they will be motivated to change. Yes, we require change, we have to change ourselves. Then they will practice for trial. Trial is going on, then behavior change, then it will be sustained. Okay, sustained behavior change. Okay, that's all. Okay. Now, three things we have discussed. Health promotion I told you, and next one is IC. The important question is difference between IC and BCC. That is the questions. IC to BCC. Information, education, communication to behavior change communication. In case of IC, we did not think about the societal behavior change. We did not think about the motivations. What we thought that information, through information, education and communication, we can be able to change the behavior. But no, it failed. That's why later on we moved from IC to BCC, where we tried to motivate people. We try to use different types of appeal which will motivate people, then they will try to take actions. Okay, from awareness to actions. In case of IC, only we provide knowledge, changing of attitudes, we educate people. On the basis of that, we thought, yes, automatically behavior will be changed. But no, that's why IC to BCC. Clear? Three concepts: health promotions, information, education, and communications, and third one is behavior change communication. Okay, any questions for clarifications? 2-3 minutes are there. কিছুই শুনিনি তো বুঝবো কি করে নাকি? Hello, backbenchers. Any questions for clarifications? Health promotions. This is last class. Each class not be repeated. Health promotions, information, education and communications, and behavior change communications.
Firing level or threshold, it is a firing level or threshold. Then there is the abrupt depolarization, and then there is repolarization, and it is the overshoot, that is the above the zero potential line, and the terminal, that is the 70% after repolarization, then this rate is to some extent is reduced, and this part is after depolarization. It is after depolarization, and it is this after repolarization. And how this occurs, you know. And now discuss about the biphasic action potential. Biphasic action potential. Biphasic action potential is recorded from an action when both the electrodes are outside. And in that case, suppose whenever there is recording of the biphasic action potential, it is different from this. Both the electrodes are outside. And before stimulation, there is this charge separation in this way. And in that case, there will be development of biphasic action potential. শোনো, এত জায়গা থাকতে তোমরা ঘেঁষাঘেঁষি করে কি জন্য বসো? সেপারেটে এসে বসতে পারো না? হ্যাঁ, ওখানে উঠে ওখানে বসো আরাম করে। এখানে এই ঘেঁষাঘেঁষি করে বসার দরকার, অনেক জায়গা তো রয়েছে। হ্যাঁ, শুধু সে নিজেদের বিড়ম্বনা সৃষ্টি করা। biphasic action potential. It is the monophasic action potential. It is important for the examination. The absolute refractory period, from which point to which point? Absolute refractory period. Monophasic action potential, that is on one phase, one side of the baseline mainly. It is called monophasic, and in that case one electrode is inside and another is the outside, and in that case the membrane potential is minus 70 millivolt, and then you get this type of action potential. Now the biphasic action potential, and how it is produced. Suppose it is annexed in this way, both the electrodes is outside, and in the resting condition there is no potential difference. There is no potential difference. So it is the zero level. From the zero level you can consider this. Now whenever there is stimulation, it is the cathodal stimulus, action potential will start and it will move. And up to this level, suppose you are up to this level, there is a zero potential. And when it involves this, then this polarity changes, inside positive and outside negative. And it is connected in such a way that whenever the proximal electrode is negative outside in comparison to the other, then there will be a positive deflection, that is the above the baseline, and in that case you get a positive deflection, and it becomes, and when this dipole is moving in this way, and it will regain its original form, and it will return to the baseline, and this dipole is moving, that is propagating in this way, and return to the baseline, and depending upon the distance between the electrodes, and there will be a gap at the zero potential level, and when it involves this part, then it negative and it is positive. So, and it is recorded in this direction. It is the biphasic potential. বোঝা গেল জিনিসটা? সহজ জিনিস না অত্যন্ত। These are all very easy things. It is a monophasic action potential. It may be asked in the examination, every chance that you get this question, monophasic features of and how it is formed. Depolarization is due to, depolarization is due to, that is the opening of the abrupt opening of large number of voltage gated sodium channels. Voltage gated sodium channels. Voltage gated sodium channel. And then it will try to bring the membrane potential to its equilibrium potential. What is the equilibrium potential of sodium ion? ইকুইলিব্রিয়াম পোটেনশিয়াল অফ সোডিয়াম আয়ন কত হয় নর্মালি নার্ভে? টেক্সট বই যারা খুলেছে তারা সঙ্গে সঙ্গে উত্তর দিতে পারবে। ইকুইলিব্রিয়াম পোটেনশিয়াল অফ সোডিয়াম আয়ন কত হয়? না, দ্যাট ইজ দি অফ পটাশিয়াম। ইন কেস অফ সোডিয়াম ইট ইজ +60, ইকুইলিব্রিয়াম পোটেনশিয়াল অফ সোডিয়াম আয়ন, ইএনএ is equal to -61.5 into log to the power base 10 to sodium concentration inside divided by sodium concentration outside. As it is more in the outside, so there will be negative value and it will be +60, roughly +60 millivolt at 37 degree centigrade. So it will try to bring to this +60 millivolt, but does not reach it, but it never touches it, that value. And what is the reason? Because the opening of the sodium channel is very transient. অত্যন্ত ক্ষণস্থায়ী। It opens and then it goes into an inactive stage. Outer gate and inner gate in inactive stage. And then it regain the resting state and then it can conduct impulse. Moreover, when it reaches, it is over the overshoot, then there is the polarity is reversed, and it will hinder the exit of the, that is entry of the sodium ion. Normally there is a concentration gradient and the electrical gradient that is favoring entry of sodium ions. If you consider this, outside is positive, inner side negative. Concentration of sodium is more on the outside than the inside, and electrical gradient is also favorable. So whenever normally sodium ions are much less permeable, but so when there is a chance comes so that the channels will open, then sodium will enter quickly, and then there is the generation of this action potential. When the depolarization reaches this threshold value or firing level, -55 millivolt. It will try to bring the membrane potential to its favor, that is up to +60 millivolt. But it never occurs. It falls short of it because the opening of the sodium channel by its property is short-lived, and when it exceeds this zero value, then the inside becomes positive. So the electrical gradient is lost in this case, and at the same time the voltage gated potassium channels begin to open. And here is the movement is in the opposite direction. Sodium is outside to inside and potassium is inside to outside. And all these reasons are responsible so that it attains a value of plus 35 millivolt. This value may differ in different texts, whatever may be, but it will not attain this equilibrium potential value. Clear? Now it is the biphasic action potential, and here all the electrodes, both the electrodes are outside this membrane. So initially there is no potential difference. But it is when the action potential, when the stimulator is on, and then in that case, then initially this proximal part becomes depolarized. So there is inside positive and outside negative, and this attachment is made such a way that when this occurs, then there is a deflection, positive deflection, that is above the baseline. And when it travels in between the electrodes, depending upon the distance and the conduction velocity, speed, then there is some isoelectric interval. And when the second electrode is approached by this dipole, and then there is the reverse thing, that is equal amplitude but in the opposite direction, and it is called biphasic action potential. Biphasic action potential. It can be asked in the oral examination. ওরাল এক্সামিনেশনে এটা জিজ্ঞাসা করা হতে পারে কারো যে বাইফেজিক অ্যাকশন পোটেনশিয়াল বলতে কি বোঝায়, যেইটা পড়া থাকবে সে সহজেই উত্তর দিতে পারবে। If they are close by, then this gap is narrower. If this position, so it may be this type. In this way, it is the biphasic action potential. Now the action potential that is recorded in peripheral nerves. What is the feature? Electrical activities of the peripheral nerve. সেখানে কিরকম ফিচার পাওয়া যাবে? Peripheral nerves, suppose radial nerve, ulnar nerve, femoral nerve, different types of nerves, and in that case they are bundles of actions of different dimensions and different properties, and their excitability is also different, and from an outside electrode the distance of them also different, and in that case it is possible that whenever there is increase in the stimulus strength, there is gradual increase. When it is recorded close by, then there is gradual increase in the amplitude of the response. Clear? Suppose there is a peripheral nerve and it contains different types of fibers, different sizes, different properties. Peripheral nerves. And there is a connective tissue outside peripheral nerve that is called epineurium. And if there is, it is stimulated. It is stimulated at any point, and recorded at some distance, recorder. Cathode oscilloscope or CRO also, from the outside, not inside any particular cell. Then what should be the feature? You can expect biphasic action potential, but you should consider the first part only, and then your concept will be there. And suppose there is different stimuli and it is close by, very close, and in that case you get, suppose it is the stimulus strength, duration, rectangular currents are used for this purpose, demonstration of these properties. Suppose these are sub threshold, This is a sub-threshold, then there is no response. Whatever may be it is 0 millivolt or so, and there is no response up to this 1, 2, 3 and 4. And at 4, some of the actions are stimulated because they are more excitable. At the stimulus strength, they become active, and action potential can be recorded. Suppose the reversing part is suppressed by the examiner, and this is recorded. Now, if the stimulus strength go on increasing, 5, 6 in this way, and you will find that it will increase in height. 7, 8. Suppose it is in that case it is, and when it reaches this maximal value at that position, at the 8th stimulus, it attains the maximum value. And if there is supramaximal stimulation at the 9, and so 8, 9 onwards, it will get the same value. It will not increase further. So why it is occurring? It is occurring due to algebraic summation of these action potentials, gradual recruitment. And this stimulator at different distances from them, and the behavior of the actions are also different. Some are more excitable, some are less excitable. And whenever there is minimal strength at which some of the fibers generate action potential, you get a small wave, small action potential, small sized. But with increase in the stimulus, more and more fibers becomes recruited. So their stimulus strength is the summation effect. And whenever you get, suppose in this example, it is the stimulus strength and it is the duration. At that position, it reaches the maximum value. And 9, 10, whatever may be the value, then there is no change. And it shows the involvement of all the actions. There is no further scope of action. So it is the maximal stimulus. At the 8th position, you can call it is a threshold, and it is the maximal stimulus. Maximal. And above the supramaximal stimulus. And whenever there is supramaximal stimulus, then there is no response. And it is called compound action potential. Compound action potential. The monophasic action potential, biphasic potential, they are recorded from a single action. And it is the algebraic summation of them. So it is compound action potential from the peripheral nerves. And it is recorded. In our hospital or different department, in physiology department of other institutions, they can record them. Compound action potential to measure the conduction velocity of skeletal muscle and nerve also. Compound action potential. And it is the maximum value, maximal stimulus. And above this, it is supramaximal stimulus. And when this recorder is moved in this way, then there are application of different peaks. At some distance, suppose you get further, then it is possible you get another peaks will come. And their width will increase. It is called multi-peaked action potential. Multi-peaked action potential. Multi-peaked action potential. And it indicates the types of fiber that is present. Types of fibers and their numbers are present. Multi-peaked action potential. It is the compound action potential. If this stimulus is sub-threshold, then there is no response. And when it exceeds this threshold, some actions that are highly sensitive and close to the stimulated electron, they will fire. And you get a small sized action potential. If the stimulus strength is gradually increased, maintaining the duration same, then there is gradual increase in the height and up to a maximum level. And it is recorded very close to the stimulator. But you remove it at the distance, then depending on the type of the fibers, then there will be widening of the response, and at the same time there will be appearance of the another peaks. So indicate different types of fiber, only alpha, beta, gamma, and how it is because the speed of conduction is not equal. Speed of conduction of them is not equal. So whenever there is distances, then there is chance of difference between them. In a 100-meter dash, when they start, it is difficult to see their separation. But as time progresses, the distances between increases and it is apparent. It is apparent. Clear? Similar things is happening. It is called multi-peaked action potential. And it indicates the types of fibers that are present. Types of fibers that are present. It is called compound action potential. It is the behavior of the electrical stimulation of the peripheral nerves. Peripheral nerves. বোঝা গেছে জিনিসটা? খুব সহজ জিনিস এগুলো। হ্যাঁ। Now in an unmyelinated action, you can think how it propagates. How it propagates from one site of stimulation to another. Electrogenesis of the membrane potential or the propagation of the action potential. How it occurs? In an unmyelinated action, in case of unmyelinated actions, there is no myelin sheath. They have a simple covering. They have simple covering of the Schwann cells, but not myelination. Myelination you have read in the higher secondary text. Myelin sheath. In the peripheral nervous system, it is produced by Schwann cells. Schwann cells. SCHWANN, Schwann cells. And in that case, there is some covering, but no that myelin sheath in this case. And suppose if there is stimulation at action potential, and there is negativity inside, there is positivity inside, and on either side there is the positivity outside the action. And action potential is being generated at this point. Action potential generated at this point. Then how it propagates to either side? Propagates to either side. Initial part, that is the before the threshold level is reached, then it is called, in case of action, it is called subthreshold stimuli. Subthreshold stimuli can change the membrane potential of a neuron, and it is called electrotonic potential. Electrotonic potential. Yeah, electrotonic potential. Tonic potential. So there is circular current flow from this side to this side. Circular current flow in this neighboring sides. And when the neighboring sides, there is initially there is electrotonic potential. Electronic potential. And this electronic potential, when it is produced, and when it reaches, and if there is action potential, it is sufficient to bring it to the threshold value, and this generation of action potential in that case, in either side. On either side, there is development of action potential. Suppose it is the very early part, is the and in this way, action potential will propagate. In this, from this point, both the sides, it will propagate. In this way, in the unmyelinated action, it will propagate. It involves all the part of the membrane. All the part of the membrane. Yeah. Propagation. And so, and its propagation velocity is much lower than that of the myelinated actions. An experiment has been done mostly on the invertebrate actions. Invertebrate actions. Squid, cuttlefish, and this crab actions in this. And they are unmyelinated. And their conduction velocity is low. But in higher animals, it is not adequate in every case. Within our body, there are some neurons that are unmyelinated. Unmyelinated. But in most cases, there is myelination. Myelination. Clear? Suppose 500 μm. 500 μm diameter unmyelinated action, its conduction velocity, suppose it is 25 meter per second. And in case of a mammalian, unmyelinated. In case of myelinated, it is, if it is 10 μm, then it is 60 meter per second also. It is due to myelination. And this conduction velocity depends upon some physical properties. That is, the energy is lost in case of myelinated actions. In myelination, the myelination is produced by the repeated winding of the Schwann cell membrane. Schwann cells and cytoplasmic part, they disappear. Ultimately, there is found by these membranes, repeated connections of this membrane. So it is a protein-lipid complex of membrane. And it acts as an insulator. Insulator. Like the electrical wires you see, there is no loss of electrical energy because they are some insulation. Insulation. Similarly, in this case, myelin has this role, insulator properties. And that, so that the loss of electrical activity is minimum. And it can propagate from one point to another point quickly. By these myelins. Myelin sheath. And whenever, so if you consider that is the wrapping, whenever there is the wrapping of the myelin and beginning of the nervous system begins with this, the actions of some neurons that require high speed of conduction must be myelinated. Clear? So that the reflexes will occur within short time and they are protective in some cases. And myelinated fibers, and if you take the example of a particular action, such as suppose a motor action. and it is the cell body, and it is the dendrites. Dendrites. The dendrites. And it is the long action that is carried out. And it will divide. And in this way, there is this production. And this action may be very long. It contains a neuron, average neuron. It may be acting in the university examination also. Draw a standard neuron and different parts. So it is called the cell body or the soma. In case of a spinal cord, they are present in the anterior horn cell. They are called anterior horn cell, they are present in the anterior horn. And these are the dendrites, not much numerous, but they branch extensively. And there are some swellings in these cases. They are called dendritic spines. They increase the area for the synapse formation. Total number of the neurons in the central nervous system is 10 to the power 11. 10 to the 11. That is 100 billion. And they are of different size, shapes, according to the requirement of the body, they are produced. But standard cell, if you consider the motor action of the spinal cord, anterior horn, and the action may be 1 meter or more than length. So from the spinal cord reaching into the muscles of the sole of the foot. So what is the length? 1 meter or even more than that. And the beginning of this action, and it is called dendrites, and they are the receptive region, where the impulses do come to integrate this effect. And it is the action hillock, thickened part. And this, after this part, there is the initial segment. And then there is this myelin sheaths, they will appear. And these are the nodes of Ranvier. Nodes of Ranvier. And these are this intermediate distance, 1 to 2 millimeter. 1 to 2 μm, their dimension. Nodes of Ranvier. And these are the myelin sheath. It is produced by the rounding of the actions of the Schwann cells. In case of nervous system, and in the central nervous system, it is done by the oligodendrocytes. Oligodendrocytes. In a particular internode, there is a single Schwann cells, and they wrap together. Suppose there is the wrapping of this, it is the cell body, and it will go round, and in this way it will continue. And the external surface, there is the, and when they compress, and then there is some P0 protein, they are called. And these mutations of these proteins may be responsible for some clinical features, demyelination also. Everything it is not possible for me to remember, but the basic concept we can discuss in this class. Details you will find in different texts. And you can enrich your knowledge from different sources. শুধুমাত্র স্থূল জিনিসগুলোই আমার মতন সাধারণ লোক বলতে পারে, ডিটেইলে আমার ক্ষমতা নেই, বুঝলেন? Now this class is for to create interest amongst you and nothing else. And in this way there is rounding and rounding, and then there is every chance there is no transmission in between this. Node of Ranvier 1 to 2 μm, their dimension. And the action potential will start from the initial segment, and it involves this, and from this it will jump to this segment. It is called saltatory conduction. Saltatory conduction. And this is increases. Then what is the utility of this? What is the utility of these wrappings? Numerous wrappings, different layers. If it is 25 wrappings, there is the 50 layers. 50 layers. 50 layers. If it is cross section, 50 layers. And up to 100 wrappings there, then 200. And if the 50 wrappings is 100 times this membrane, that can be here. And it is the particular, it is due to the cable properties. It is due to cable properties of the membrane. And it is the physical property. It is the electronic spread of electrotonic depolarization. Suppose you consider the case of the membrane, and then there is the resistance, membrane resistance, Rm. And this, and there is the resistance of this. And there is a particular length in which the strength, it will depend upon if Rm is more and Ri is less, then there is every chance of propagation. It will facilitate propagation. And there is a length constant. At a particular length, whenever there is loss of 1 by E or 37% of the strength, it is called space constant or length constant. Due to cable properties, and it is the root over Rm length constant. If Rm is much more than Ri, then there is length constant will increase. And if there is one point of stimulation, and at a particular point when the stimulus strength, that is the stimulus strength is, it is in case of not in the action potential, but the electronic potential, sub-threshold potential. And in that case, then there is this type of loss with the distance, loss with distance. At a particular point when it is 1 by E of this initial strength or voltage V0, then this indicates the length constant, and it is calculated at this type of value. So more the length constant, more will be it is spread, rapid spread, and more is the chance of getting close to or up to the threshold level and action potential. Now another is the membrane capacitance. Less is the membrane capacitance, then it will facilitate this capacitance. বোঝা গেল? যদি ক্যাপাসিটেন্স বেশি হয় তারপর তার স্প্রেড কম হবে। Suppose you consider a tube made of cloth. Another, you consider the tube made of rubber. If this flow is given initially is equal, water will be absorbed by the cloths. So at a much less distance, its flow will reduce. But if it is a rubber tube, rubber is not weighted by water, so it will spread in the same rate. Similar, it is in the case of capacitance. So there is another constant, that is this, that contains this type of, that is this, it is the time constant, that is time constant. It is the part of your concept in resistance capacitance circuit. Our plasma membrane has a bilayer lipid core, and it acts as a capacitor. In case of parallel plate capacitor, you have read in the physics, then when the two conductors are separated by a non-conductor, and it forms a parallel plate capacitor, clear? And it can store electrical energy. And its discharge, it depends upon the resistance and also this capacitance. When the voltage difference is same, this capacitance, when capacitance go on increasing, then Q is equal to C into V. That is the total electricity in coulombs will increase, and in that case it will take more time, and if the resistance is more, then it will take further more time. So it is RMCM in that type of circuit, and these things are discussed for clarification in older texts, but recent texts they think that these are part of the physics, so we should obscure them, and for this reason it becomes to some extent difficult to understand. Resistance capacitance circuit. Suppose in case of a simple older text, they give type to this type of figure. Suppose there is an electrical source of energy. Negative, positive, whatever it may be, and it is the capacitor. It is C. And there is the resistance. This is the resistance capacitance circuit. It is explained in this way. Suppose it is a particular volt is applied. Suppose it is 10 volt. Is this EMF is 10 volt, and if it is closed, then current will flow and charge will accumulate within this. Then again it is snapped. Then charge will remain, and voltage is equal to this voltage. It is 10 volt. Now if it is in the charge position, A is initially open, it is closed, and the charge accumulates according to the capacitance C into V. And if it is 10 volt, and it will be 10 volt. Now it is opened and charge accumulates. Now if B is closed, there is every chance of discharge. So it will depend upon this capacitance and this resistance. If the capacitance is more, then at the particular voltage there will be more electrical, there is the electrified molecules, coulombs. More coulombs will be there. Q is equal to CV. In a physics text you have that. So part of physiology belongs to physics also. So if there is increase in the capacitance, then there will be more electrical charge. And if this R is more, then more time is required for this discharge. And so in that case, in the same way, if you take the exponential value 1 by E, and in that case it becomes, that is this time constant in the circuit, resistance capacity circuit, it is Rm into Cm. Rm into Cm, time constant. More the time constant, then this, and it is sub-threshold stimuli we are considering. Simply the physical properties of the membrane. Plasma membrane is a capacitance, and its value is microfarad, 1 microfarad, 1 mu f, 1 mu f, 1 mu f per centimeter square is a capacitor. It is a capacitor, and its capacitor has been measured roughly this value. Excitable tissue, 1 microfarad, and this from this concept you can find out the number of molecules traversing the membrane during change in the membrane potential. Clear? For a particular area, if you consider the membrane potential, it will change, and from this concept you will find out the number of molecules that is required to be transferred across the membrane to generate the action potential. And older physiology texts that they have this calculation done. And in that case, this change is 0.002% or so. So that whenever the action potential develops, minimum amount, very small amount of the ions do traverse. So that absolute concentration outside the membrane is negligible. Very small amount of ions can traverse. Now, whenever we are considering the case of cell membrane, they give a time constant of root over Rm Ri into Cm. And whenever there is wrapping, suppose 25 wrappings, and in that case, this membrane will, Rm will increase by 50 times, because with these capacitances, when they are in series, then reciprocal of them is added. From a knowledge of physics, you know that when there is, then 1 by Ct total is equal to 1 by C1 plus 1 by C2 plus 1 by C3 in this way. Suppose it is 50 times, 50 values, up to 50 times. So, and if they are all equal, same membrane, same structure, they are equal. So, this Ct becomes C by 50. As the action diameter does not change, this Ri remains constant. And if there is 50 times, then this value, time constant will be root over 50 Rm into Ri by Cm by 50. So, its relation with this is that root 50 by 50. So, it will become 50 by root 50. So, 7 times. Reduction is 7 times in this way. Root over 50 by 50 in this way, this ratio, in comparison to time constant will reduce. বেসিক কনসেপ্ট হচ্ছে এরকম যে দে উইল reduce the time constant. So within the short time it will be excited. Because it is 50 and it is root 50. 7, 7 7 49. So 1 by 7 will be this value. So 7 times increase in the velocity of conduction. And it is the nature's device so that it can propagate faster. Suppose when I am touching some heated subject, then quickly I have to remove. If it is amount to some seconds, then there will be damage will be done. So myelination is a beneficial effect, and it is a nature is always accurate, and they make with precision the whatever they are doing. So myelination, that is ultimately it reduces the time constant because capacitances are reciprocally added, and it is the root value. So there is reduction of this value in comparison to the lesser the time constant, more will be the propagation. So from this figure you can understand that the time constant and the length constant, they coming in concert. Details I cannot understand because recent texts do not discuss with it. Older texts they discuss. It is my duty to give you some insights so that you can only memorizing will not do. You cannot go through any subject. So it is the purpose of this myelination is to reduce the capacitance, and so the time constant is reduced, and the Rm is reduced, length constant root over Rm and Ri. So length constant is also increased, so that very quickly it will take place. In case of this myelination, the number of sodium channels over this myelin is very low. It is more in the initial segment. Suppose initial segment, this number of sodium channels is 350 to 500 μm square. At the node of Ranvier, it is 2000 to 10,000 per μm square. And so they are aggregated at this position. So initial site, initial segment is the site of origin of impulse, and it will jump from this to this. Over the myelin is 25 to 50 only this μm square, or even lower than that. So the action potential will generated from node to node, and it occurs quickly, very quick. Otherwise, and on the other hand, if they are unmyelinated, that our conduction velocity is 50 times less, and to make that unmyelinated actions, to make that is our requirement, then much thicker. It has some root over value to increase the myelin, increase the conduction velocity of an unmyelinated action. If the 2 times, 4 times should be the increase in the diameter. It is a root over relation, so that all the actions then will take much bigger space. So the normal slim position of the animals on a human, including humans, it is salutary, it is beneficial. It occupies less space and giving the same result. Yeah. Within a few minutes, and the proprioceptors, motor neurons, they have extensive myelination. some vestibular related to vestibular afferent efferent, and in that case they are thickly myelinated. So very quick action can be taken. Suppose even we are going to lose balance, you may not fall because the information is sufficient to, in case of healthy individual, to regain the normal posture. And it is possible to type of myelination. So somatic actions, fine touch, and proprioceptive sensation, and they have thickly myelinated fibers. On the other hand, the fibers that are not much required, as in autonomic system, postganglionic sympathetic or preganglionic autonomic nerves, where there is not such requirement, emergencies. And in that case, it is unmyelinated. That is sufficient. In small animals, invertebrates, this myelination is not required because the length is very low, and in that case, wide actions, unmyelinated action is sufficient. And it is also metabolically beneficial. Suppose in case of unmyelinated action, every part of the membrane is active. So entry of sodium ion is required. And to drive out the sodium ion by sodium potassium ATPase from everywhere is much energy consumed. But in this case, it is only from the smaller sites. In comparison to surface area, it is almost negligible. So this energy maintenance is also less required. And nerves do not fatigue. Nerves do not fatigue. And there are different types of nerve fibers also. Time is limited. I am stopping there. Next class we will discuss remaining part if it is possible, or within our competencies, pH buffer, we can discuss something. I stop today. Thank you.
What are the major pathways of the carbohydrates metabolism? Glycolysis, TCA cycle, gluconeogenesis, glycogen breakdown, glycogen synthesis. Carbohydrate metabolism is concentric with glucose. That is, glucose occupies the central position of the carbohydrate metabolism. I am just overview of the carbohydrate metabolism. Glucose occupies central position of the carbohydrate metabolism. Where from glucose comes and where glucose goes. Glucose কোত্থেকে আসছে এবং glucose কোথায় যাচ্ছে? Glucose goes to the one of the oxidative pathway that is known as glycolysis. The purpose is the energy. Another oxidative pathway is the glucose phosphate pathway. This is different. Each and every pathway has some purpose. Glucose goes to the glycogen. Glucose is the after feeding, after taking foods, not all foods are utilized for energy. There is always a surplus food, and that surplus energy is converted to glycogen first, and even then it is surplus, it is converted to triglyceride. Prothom surplus glucose will be converted to glycogen. First, glucose surplus will be converted to glycogen, and even the glycogen store is filled up. Liver has capacity to store the glycogen. If when glycogen store is filled up, then what will be the fate of the excess glucose? It will be converted to fat. So this is the outflow of the glucose. What is the inflow? Inflow is the where from glucose comes. Glucose comes from diet, but it is absorption. Absorption. Glucose is synthesized within our body. Glucose is synthesized within our body in times of need, in scarcity of the glucose, particularly in between the meals and in starved condition or fasting condition. That is called gluconeogenesis. In starvation or when we do not take food, two events occur of the carbohydrate metabolism. First of all, glycogen is broken down. Glycogen is broken down to glucose in starvation. This is during feeding condition. And that is called glycogen synthesis. And glycogenolysis. This occurs in fed condition, this occurs in starved condition. This occurs in starved condition. What is this? Gluconeogenesis is the synthesis of the glucose not from carbohydrate. Carbohydrate থেকে যদি গ্লুকোজ তৈরি হয় তাহলে সেটা গ্লুকোনেওজেনেসিস নয়। Galactose is converted to glucose, fructose is converted to glucose, starch is converted to glucose. It is not the gluconeogenesis. Gluconeogenesis is the synthesis of the glucose in our body in scarcity of the glucose from the non-carbohydrate precursors. It is a non-carbohydrate precursors. What are the non-carbohydrate precursors? When glucose is converted, when non-carbohydrate precursor is converted to glucose, it is called gluconeogenesis. It is not gluconeogenesis. It is not gluconeogenesis. This is gluconeogenesis. Non-carbohydrate precursors means pyruvate. It is not carbohydrate, it is a amino acid. Alanine, it is not carbohydrate, it is amino acid. Glycerol, it is an alcohol coming from breakdown of the fat. Succinyl CoA, intermediate of the all the intermediate of the Krebs cycle. Oxaloacetate, these are not the carbohydrates, but these can be converted to glucose, and that is called gluconeogenesis. Glycolysis is then converted to pyruvate. Glucose is pyruvate, pyruvate to acetyl CoA, acetyl CoA to TCA cycle. What are the major pathway? Major pathway is the glycolysis. Major pathway is the pentose phosphate pathway. Major pathway is the glycogen synthesis. Major pathway is the glycogen breakdown. Major pathway is the gluconeogenesis, and major pathway is the TCA cycle. These are the 6 major pathways of the carbohydrate metabolism. 6 major pathways of the carbohydrate metabolism. And all these pathways occur in our body in a very regulated manner, in a very coordinated manner. The purpose of that coordination, purpose of that regulation is constancy of the blood glucose level, that is maintenance of the blood glucose level, that is from 70 to 100 milligram per dl, and this maintenance is very, very necessary. This maintenance of the glucose is very, very necessary, and this can only occur if all these pathways occur in a coordinated manner. Purpose of this coordination is glucose is necessary for the brain and the RBC. Maintenance of the blood glucose is necessary, one for the brain and another for the RBC. These are the major pathways. There are also minor pathways. What are the minor pathways? Minor pathways are the uronic acid pathway. Number one, uronic acid pathway. Purpose is the purpose of the glucuronic acid. Synthesis of the glucuronic acid. Well, glucuronic acid or glucuronate. Glucuronic acid is necessary for conjugation of the bilirubin. Glucuronic acid is necessary for conjugation of bilirubin, and that is synthesized from the glucose by the pathway known as uronic acid pathway. Synthesis of ascorbic acid or vitamin C. We cannot synthesize ascorbic acid because of the deficiency of an enzyme of this uronic acid pathway. But cattle can synthesize. Another importance is the disease known as essential pentosuria. These are inborn errors of metabolism because of defective uronic acid pathway. This is the purpose. One, number two pathway is the glucose will be converted. These are the two major minor pathways, and the 6 I have described are the major pathways. Each and every pathway has significance. Each and every pathway has some purpose. Pathway is an oxidative pathway of the glucose. It is an alternate way of oxidation of the glucose other than glycolysis. Alternate way of oxidation of the glucose. Why this alternate pathway? When there is a glycolysis, the principal oxidative pathway of the glucose, principal oxidative pathway of the glucose is the glycolysis. In spite of this glycolysis, there is another alternate pathway of the glucose oxidation, that is pentose phosphate pathway. Why this is alternate pathway is necessary? Yes, there is some purpose. Now, glycolysis, we compare glycolysis with pentose phosphate pathway. Occur in cytosol. Common features of this two pathway, both are oxidative pathway, both occur in the cytosol. Difference is the here oxidizing agent. Here oxidizing agent is NAD, and NAD is converted to NADH. which enters into the respiratory chain to form ATP. Here oxidizing agent is here NAD is converted to NADH. Into the electron transport chain. এটা ইটিসিতে যায় না, এটি ফর্ম করে না। So there is obviously some purpose other than energy purpose. What is that purpose? Purpose কি? এখানে পারপাস হচ্ছে এনার্জি, এখানে পারপাস ইজ ডিফারেন্ট ফ্রম এনার্জি। পারপাস ইজ দ্য টু ইম্পর্টেন্ট মলিকুলস, generation of the two important molecules. One is NADPH, which is coming from the NADP. Another is ribose 5-phosphate. These are the two important compounds that can be derived from pentose phosphate pathway, and the purpose of this pathway is the generation of these two compounds. এখানে কিন্তু only six কার্বন আছে and C3 আছে, এখানে কিন্তু পেন্টোজ সুগার নেই, এখানে কিন্তু C3, C4, C5, C6, C7 সবগুলি আছে, সবগুলি আছে। It is something complicated more complicated than glycolysis. C3, C4, C5, C6, C7, all sugars are present in this pathway. What is the purpose of the NADPH? মানে what is the why NADPH লাগে? NADPH role. What is the role of NADPH? Reductive biosynthesis. Just one language, reductive biosynthesis. Reductive biosynthesis का की फैटी एसिड, स्टेरॉयड हार्मोन, और एक হচ্ছে কি reduced form of glutathione. Glutathione is a tripeptide. All of you know, I think, present in the RBC membrane, which helps to maintain integrity of the RBC, prevents lysis of the RBC, glutathione. So glutathione is synthesis in the RBC. RBC the synthesis হয়. Another difference between these two features, two oxidative pathway, the glycolysis is, as it is meant for energy, it occurs in all tissues because all tissue requires energy. As all tissue requires energy, glycolysis occurs in every tissue. Glycolysis is the only single common pathway, only pathway or biochemical pathway that occur in every cell, every living cell, it may be bacteria, it may be virus, it may be mammalian cells, every cell has a property of functioning glycolysis. প্রত্যেকটা সেল লিভিং সেলের কিন্তু গ্লাইকোলিসিস হয়। একটা ফিচার যদি কমন হয় সেলের মধ্যে বায়োকেমিক্যাল পাথওয়ে, দ্যাট কমন পাথওয়ে ইজ দ্য গ্লাইকোলিসিস। প্রত্যেকটা জায়গায় হয়, কিন্তু পেন্টোজ ফসফেট পাথওয়ে প্রত্যেকটা জায়গায় হয় না। দরকার নেই কোলেস্টেরল সিনথেসিস, ফ্যাটি অ্যাসিড সিনথেসিস এবং এগুলো সব জায়গায় এগুলোর দরকার নেই। যে যে জায়গায় দরকার সেই সেই জায়গায় এই পাথওয়েটা হয়। কোথায় কোথায় হয়? কোথায় কোথায় হয়? হয়, তারপরে আর বিস্তৃত হয়। তার আগে বলতে হবে অ্যাড্রেনাল কর্টেক্স। আর হচ্ছে আর বিস্তৃত হয়। এই অর্গানগুলোতে হয়, অন্য অর্গানে হয় না, বেশি হয় না। আর একটা ম্যামেটিক গ্ল্যান্ডে হয়। অন্য সেলগুলোতে খুব একটা হয় না। তাহলে লিভারে কি তৈরি হয়? লিভারে তৈরি হয় ফ্যাটি অ্যাসিড এন্ড কোলেস্টেরল। এখানে তৈরি হয় স্টেরয়েড হরমোন। এখানে তৈরি হয় রিডিউস গ্লুটাথায়ন। এখানে তৈরি হয় ফ্যাটি অ্যাসিড। all requires a ADPH. সবটাই এনএডিপিএস দরকার, এবং যেখানে যেখানে এনএডিপিএস এর জন্য এনএডিপিএস না থাকলে পরে এই হরমোনগুলো তৈরি হবে না, এই সাবস্টেন্সগুলো তৈরি হবে না, এবং সেই জন্য এই সাবস্টেন্সগুলো যেখানে যেখানে তৈরি হয় সেখানে সেখানে সেই সেই টিস্যুতেই পেন্টোজ ফসফেট পাথওয়ে হয়। গ্লাইকোলিসিস হয় সমস্ত অর্গানে, সমস্ত সেলে। আর একটা ইম্পর্টেন্স হচ্ছে কি রাইবোজ। রাইবোজ ইজ নেসেসারি ফর সিনথেসিস অফ দ্য নিউক্লিক অ্যাসিডস। রাইবোজ ইজ কনভার্টেড টু ডিঅক্সিরাইবোজ হুইচ ইজ নেসেসারি ফর ডিএনএ, and ribose is necessary for RNA. So for synthesis of the nucleic acids and for synthesis of these compounds, pentose phosphate pathway is necessary. Purpose is and the clinical importance is what is the clinical importance of this pathway? Clinical importance of this pathway. Defects of pentose phosphate pathway, particularly by glucose 6 phosphate dehydrogenase, key enzyme of the pentose phosphate pathway. Leads to hemolytic anemia. I will describe later on why hemolytic anemia occurs due to defective pentose phosphate pathway. It is a matter of discussion. Clinical importance হচ্ছে hemolytic anemia হবে যদি এই pentose phosphate pathway defect হয়. Go to start the pathway. Biochemical pathway is divided into two stages. Two stage. Important oxidative as well as irreversible. Number two, non-oxidative and irreversible. Reversible. Two stages. Pentose phosphate pathway begins with glucose 6 phosphate and ends in glucose 6 phosphate. So it is called shunt. It begins with glucose 6 phosphate, it ends in glucose 6 phosphate. Now, first of all, oxidative pathway. Oxidative pathway contains two enzymes, two important enzymes. One is the glucose 6 phosphate dehydrogenase, which is the first enzyme and the key enzyme, and another is the enzyme that is dehydrogenase 6-phosphogluconate dehydrogenase. These two dehydrogenase enzyme gives rise to NADPH. These two dehydrogenase gives rise to NADPH. It starts with glucose 6 phosphate, which is coming from glucose by the reaction catalyzed by either by hexokinase or by glucokinase. Glucose 6 phosphate undergoes dehydrogenation with the end of glucose 6 phosphate dehydrogenase, and it is obviously it is the oxidative reductase. Oxidized glucose 6 phosphate is oxidized. Oxidized agent is which gets reduced to NADPH. And glucose 6 phosphate is oxidized to 6 phosphogluconolactone. আমি স্ট্রাকচার রেখে কিন্তু বিব্রত করতে চাইছি না। 6-phosphogluconolactone, তবে এখানে একটা এনএডিপি তৈরি হলো। 6-phosphogluconolactone এটা হাইড্রোলেজ দিয়ে phosphogluconate ল্যাকটোন রিংটা চলে যায় হাইড্রোলিসে। গ্লুকোনোল্যাকটোন যে একটা ল্যাকটোনকে রিং তৈরি হয়, দ্যাট রিং ইজ ভ্যানিশড বাই হাইড্রোলিসিস উইথ দ্য এনজাইম হাইড্রোলেজ, and the specific name is a lactonase. Phosphogluconate again undergo this type of reaction. This type of reaction means another dehydrogenase, 6-phosphogluconate dehydrogenase. এখানে 6-phosphate substrate dehydrogenase, substrate dehydrogenase, phosphogluconate dehydrogenase, and the reaction is coenzyme is the same coenzyme, that is NADP. NADP, which is converted to NADPH. এবং sugar is converted to carbon sugar with elimination of one carbon dioxide. With elimination of one carbon dioxide, এখানে elimination of carbon dioxide হয় না, সেই জন্য এখানে 6 carbon becomes 5 carbon, and that 5 carbon sugar is the ribulose 5-phosphate. 5 carbon sugar by elimination of carbon dioxide becomes ribulose 5-phosphate. What is ribulose? It is a ketose sugar. Ribulose 5-phosphate. এখানে একটা ইন্টারমিডিয়েট একটা তৈরি হয় 6-phospho, and it is converted to ribulose 5-phosphate. You may write or you may write, do not write. But ribulose 5-phosphate is the end product. It is the end of the oxidative pathway and the beginning of the non-oxidative pathway. The ribulose 5-phosphate is the end of the oxidative pathway and beginning of the non-oxidative pathway. It is a pentose sugar, 5 carbon sugar, and 5 carbon sugars is rearranged to 6 carbon sugar, and ultimately to glucose 6-phosphate will be converted to glucose 6-phosphate. তাহলে এখানে দুটো NADPH তৈরি হলো, 2 NADPH are produced from the 2 enzymes. One is the glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase, another one is phosphogluconate dehydrogenase. Glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase, phosphogluconate dehydrogenase. 2 dehydrogenase enzymes of the oxidative stage of the pentose phosphate pathway gives rise to NADPH. What are the other sources of the NADPH? If the pentose phosphate pathway is absent, there will be no NADPH. Yes, there may also be NADPH, but there is a very little NADPH. 90% of the NADPH is coming from the pentose phosphate pathway with the help of these 2 enzymes, and 10% of the NADPH will coming from the 2 enzymes, and one is the malic enzyme, another one is the isocitrate dehydrogenase, cytosolic isocitrate dehydrogenase. You have read isocitrate dehydrogenase in the Krebs cycle, that is within mitochondria, but mitochondrial isoenzyme cannot give rise to NADPH. It is the cytosolic NADPH. এখানে জিজ্ঞেস করা হয়, what are the other sources of NADPH? কিন্তু এই পেন্টোজ ফসফেট পাথওয়ে থেকেই আসবে। কি এনজাইম? একটা হচ্ছে ম্যালিক এনজাইম, পাইরুভেট থেকে তৈরি হয়, পাইরুভেট থেকে ম্যালিক অ্যাসিড তৈরি হয়, এনএডিপিএস তৈরি হয়। ম্যালিক এনজাইম আর একটা হচ্ছে আইসোসাইট্রেট ডিহাইড্রোজেনেজ। These are the two other sources of the malic NADPH, but a very little amount. Oxidative, a non-oxidative stage, that is starting from ribulose 5-phosphate. Ribulose 5-phosphate. This is the end product of the oxidative stage. Ribulose 5-phosphate এখানে ঘটনা ঘটে একটা আইসোমারিজম একটা এপিমারিজম isomerase there keto sugar is converted to aldose sugar. Ribose 5-phosphate, it is the ribose 5-phosphate that is necessary for nucleic acid synthesis, not ribulose. তাহলে ribose 5-phosphate কোথায় যায়? আরএনএ ডিএনএ তৈরি হতে। আর একটা হয় এপিমারেজ। এপিমারেজে হয় জাইলুলোজ 5-ফসফেট। কিরকম এপিমারেজ? আমি যদি স্ট্রাকচার আঁকি তাহলে বুঝতে পারবে। কেন এপিমার বললাম? হোয়াই ইট ইজ এপিমারেজ অ্যান্ড হোয়াই ইট ইজ আইসোমারেজ। দেখো রাইবোজ 5-ফসফেট আমি রাইবোজ এখানে যদি ফসফেট হয় তাহলে এটা রাইবোজ 5-ফসফেট। ঠিক আছে, রাইবুলোজটা কি? কিটো সুগার যদি হয় কোথায় কিটো? This is ribulose, and when phosphate is attached here, it becomes ribulose 5-phosphate. দেখো রাইবোজ আর রাইবুলোজ এটা আলডো সুগার, সেখানে কিন্তু আইসোমারেজ। এপিমারেজটাকে কি হবে? এপিমারেজ হচ্ছে জাইলুলোজ। জাইলুলোজটা কি? এটাও কিটো সুগার। গ্রুপ থাকবে কিন্তু এখানে ওই এইচটা পাল্টে যাবে। This is ribulose, epimer of the ribulose. Epimer of the ribulose. Okay? তাহলে জাইলুলোজ 5-ফসফেট মানে দিস ইজ জাইলুলোজ 5-ফসফেট। তাহলে দুটো এনজাইমের কথা বললাম, এছাড়া আরো দুটো এনজাইম লাগে, একটা হচ্ছে ট্রান্সকিটোলেজ, একটা হচ্ছে ট্রান্সঅ্যালডোলেজ। ইন কেস অফ পেন্টোজ ফসফেট পাথওয়ে in non-oxidative stage 4 enzymes are necessary. One is isomerase, another one is epimerase, third one is the transketolase, fourth one is the transaldolase. Now what are the other reactions? Reactions of transketolase and transaldolase. Ribose 5-phosphate produced here ribose 5-phosphate, it reacts with xylulose 5-phosphate, epimer of the রাইবোজ 5 ফসফেট, এই দুটো রিয়াক্ট করবে, মানে C5 প্লাস C5, দুটোই পেন্টোজ সুগার, দুটোই পেন্টোজ সুগার। এই দুটো পেন্টোজ সুগারের মধ্যে যে যেটা রিভার্স সিডোহেপ্টুলোজ আমি বলেছি 7 কার্বন সুগার ইজ প্রেজেন্ট ইন পেন্টোজ ফসফেট pathway. In oral examination you may have to ask what is the 7 carbon sugar, what is the 7 carbon sugar and where it is present. Your answer will be sidoheptulose and is present in the pentose phosphate pathway. Sidoheptulose 7টা 5 আর 5 10 হয়, কটা থাকছে? 3 ভাগে থাকছে। C5 আর C7 প্লাস C3 হলো। এনজাইম কোএনজাইম থায়ামিন পাইরোফসফেট। টিকে আমি ফুল ফর্মটা লিখি, টিকে মানে হচ্ছে গিয়ে, হ্যাঁ আমি লিখে দিচ্ছি, ফুল ফর্মটা লিখিনি। ট্রান্সক্রিপ্টোলেজের কোএনজাইম হচ্ছে টিপিপি। ট্রান্সক্রিপ্টোলেজের ইম্পর্টেন্স হচ্ছে আদার দ্যান পেন্টোজ ফসফেট পাথওয়ে, এর একটা ইম্পর্টেন্স আছে। এস্টিমেশন অফ দ্য ট্রান্সক্রিপ্টোলেজ ইজ দ্য এস্টিমেশন অফ দ্য ভিটামিন B1. Vitamin B1 status, thiamine status is assayed, is measured by the status of transcriptolase. Transcriptolase activity is proportional to the concentration of the thiamine. Transcriptolase activity is proportional to the concentration of the thiamine. So vitamin B1 status যদি আমরা মাপি, তাহলে আমরা যে এনজাইমটা মাপবো সেই এনজাইমের নাম হচ্ছে ট্রান্সক্রিপ্টোলেজ। ভিটামিন B1 থায়ামিন কিন্তু মাপা যায় না। থায়ামিন মাপতে গেলে ইনডাইরেক্টলি মাপতে হয়। ইনডাইরেক্টলি মাপি আমরা ট্রান্সক্রিপ্টোলেজ অ্যাক্টিভিটি দেখে। দিস ইজ দ্য ইম্পর্টেন্স অফ দ্য ট্রান্সক্রিপ্টোলেজ। এখানে আবার একটা রিঅ্যারেঞ্জমেন্ট হয়। Again there is a rearrangement. 7 plus 3, 5 plus 5 becomes 7 plus 3. 7 plus 3 becomes 6 plus 4. 6 plus 4, 4 sugar is erythrose. Erythrose 4 phosphate. Erythrose 4 phosphate is 4 carbon or 6 carbon sugar is a fructose 6 phosphate, which can be converted to glucose 6 phosphate. গ্লুকোজ 6 ফসফেট থেকে শুরু করেছিলাম, গ্লুকোজ 6 ফসফেটে শেষ করলাম, এবং আরও গ্লিসারালডিহাইড 3 ফসফেট, এই যে ইরাইথ্রোজ 4 ফসফেট, তাহলে এখানে কি হলো? C6 প্লাস C4। এবং এখানে যে এনজাইম লাগবে তা সেটা হচ্ছে কি ট্রান্সঅ্যালডোলেজ। এখানে কিন্তু কোএনজাইম নেই, দেয়ার ইজ নো কোএনজাইম অফ ট্রান্সঅ্যালডোলেজ। ট্রান্সক্রিপ্টোলেজের কোএনজাইম আছে টিপিপি। ঠিক আছে, এরপরেও আর একটা রিঅ্যাকশন বাকি আছে, হোয়াট উইল বি দ্য ফেট অফ দ্য ইরাইথ্রোজ 4 ফসফেট। কারণ আমি বলেছি এটা আলটিমেটলি ইট উইল বি কনভার্টেড টু 6 কার্বন সুগার গ্লুকোজ 6 ফসফেট। দেখা যাক ইরাইথ্রোজ 4 ফসফেট কি হবে। তাহলে এরাইথ্রোজ আরেকটা রিঅ্যাকশন আছে যেটা এরাইথ্রোজ এটার জন্য আরেকটা পেন্টোজ সুগার লাগবে, জাইলুলোজ 5 ফসফেট। Xylulose 5-phosphate is the epimer of the ribulose 5-phosphate. So the enzyme is the epimerase. তাহলে এখানে C5 C4 plus C5 this is a transcriptase reaction and one transallolase reaction. 4 plus 5 becomes 6 plus this is the glucose 6 phosphate is that can be converted to glucose 6 phosphate. এটা অ্যালডোলেজ দিয়ে ট্রিট করো। গ্লাইকোলিসিস চিন্তা করো, গ্লাইকোলিসিস কি হবে অ্যালডোলেজ দিলে পরে? ফ্রুক্টোজ 1,6 বিসফসফেট হবে। ফ্রুক্টোজ 1,6 বিসফসফেটেজ থেকে আমি এটাকে মুছে দিই। এটাকে মুছে দিলে ফ্রুক্টোজ 1,6 বিসফসফেটেজ, ফ্রুক্টোজ 1,6 বিসফসফেটেজ এনজাইম অফ দ্য গ্লুকোনিওজেনেসিস কি হবে? ফ্রুক্টোজ 6 ফসফেট। তাহলে 3 কার্বন, তাহলে এটা হাফ হবে, এটাও হাফ হবে, হাফ গ্লুকোজ 6 ফসফেট। তাহলে গ্লুকোজ 6 ফসফেটই কিন্তু শেষ হবে। তাহলে কি দাঁড়ালো? কি রিঅ্যাকশনস গুলো? রিঅ্যাকশনটা কি হলো? প্রথমে কি হলো? C5 রাইবোজ রিঅ্যাক্ট উইথ জাইলুলোজ, তাহলে C5 প্লাস C5 C7 প্লাস C3 গ্লিসাল এনজাইম হচ্ছে কি? ট্রান্সক্রিপ্টোলেজ। 1 নম্বর রিঅ্যাকশন। 2 নম্বর রিঅ্যাকশন আমি কি বলেছি? দিস C7 প্লাস C3 কি হয়েছিল? সিডোহিপ্টোলেজ প্লাস C6 প্লাস C4। তারপর C4 এর কি ফেট হয়েছিল? C4 is combined with C5 sugar, xylulose. Erythrose 4-phosphate reacts with xylulose, that is C5. কি হয়েছিল? ট্রান্সঅ্যালডোলেজ, এটা ট্রান্সকিটোলেজ। নেট রিঅ্যাকশনটা কি হচ্ছে? হোয়াট ইজ দ্য নেট রিঅ্যাকশন? নেট রিঅ্যাকশন দেখো, বাদ চলে যাবে, বাদ চলে গেল, C4 বাদ চলে গেল। তাহলে কি পড়ে থাকছে? কি পড়ে থাকছে? 3টে C5, 3টে C5 মিলে হচ্ছে 2টো C6 আর একটা C3। আমি এটাকে আড়াইটা C6 লিখতে পারি। 3 × 5 = 15, 6 × 2 = 12, 3 × 15। নেট রিঅ্যাকশন দেখো, 3টে পেন্টোজ সুগার মিলে 2টো হেক্সোজ সুগার এবং একটা হাফ সুগার, হাফ হেক্সোজ, আড়াইখানা হেক্সোজ সুগার, দ্যাট ইজ ইন দ্য আড়াইটা গ্লুকোজ 6 ফসফেট। আমি যদি glucose 6-phosphate molecule. Suppose I am starting from 6টা glucose 6-phosphate. 6টা glucose 6-phosphate থেকে যদি 6টা কার্বন ডাইঅক্সাইড বেরিয়ে গেল, তাহলে কি পড়ে থাকবে? 6টা পেন্টোজ সুগার, 6টা পেন্টোজ সুগার হবে। এটা হচ্ছে অক্সিডেটিভ স্টেজ। যদি 3টে থেকে যদি 2.5টা হয়, তাহলে 6টা থেকে হয় 5টা, 6 × 5 সিরিজ হবে তো। তাহলে 6টা হেক্সোজ 6-phosphate or 6টা গ্লুকোজ 6-phosphate is ultimately converted to 5টা গ্লুকোজ 6-phosphate, এবং একটা কার্বন বেরিয়ে যাবে ইন দ্য ফর্ম অফ কার্বন ডাইঅক্সাইড। তাহলে it starts with glucose 6-phosphate and ends with glucose 6-phosphate. 6টা glucose 6-phosphate is converted to 5টা glucose 6-phosphate, এবং একটা কার্বন ডাইঅক্সাইড লিবারেট করলো, এবং মাঝখানে NADPH লিবারেট করলো, মাঝখানে রাইবোজ 5-phosphate লিবারেট করলো, যেগুলো আমার দরকার। অক্সিডেটিভ স্টেজ আর নন অক্সিডেটিভ স্টেজের মধ্যে তফাৎ বুঝি ক্লিয়ার? অক্সিডেটিভ ফেজ হচ্ছে রিভার্সিবল, ইরিভার্সিবল। নন অক্সিডেটিভ ফেজ হচ্ছে ইরিভার্সিবল। ডিফেক্টস ইন দ্য পেন্টোজ ফসফেট পাথওয়ে মে লিড টু হিমোলাইটিক অ্যানিমিয়া। কেন হিমোলাইটিক অ্যানিমিয়া হয়? বিকজ অফ দ্য ডেফিসিয়েন্সি অফ দ্য NADPH। NADPH যদি না থাকে তাহলে রিডিউস ফর্ম অফ দ্য গ্লুটাথায়ন তৈরি হবে না। আর যদি রিডিউস ফর্ম অফ দ্য গ্লুটাথায়ন তৈরি যদি না হয়, RBC গেটস লাইসিস। There will be lysis of the RBC in absence of the NADPH. In absence of the NADPH means absence of the glutathione, reduced form of the glutathione. Absence of the reduced glutathione means rupture of the RBC membrane. That will be hemolysis. So pentose phosphate pathway defects due to defects of the key enzyme glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase will lead to hemolytic anemia. I will discuss it in the next class.